Hey everyone, welcome to FPL The Onion episode 33. It is a episode of threes tonight. It's episode 33, reviewing game week 33, and there is three of us as Nick is back from holiday. Nick, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling very good, actually. I'm impressed by the number of times you said 33 in one sentence there. That was very impressive. But yeah, we're joined again by Tom, who I've never met before. I've never spoken to before tonight, but having watched the last two episodes with Shlee and Tom, I feel like I know him very well. So welcome back, Tom.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Ash. Good to be back. Just to cap it off after highs and lows of FPL.
Exactly.
You've got a very interesting story for the start of the season. So good to have you back on.
Thanks.
Yeah, looking at our teams, they're sort of similar-ish, aren't we, in that we've all had bad weeks, but then certainly Tom's already been pretty maverick this week, so it should be quite a lot of varied content tonight, hopefully.
Yeah, and before this week, we've all had similar weeks this week, but he's had a brilliant start to the season as well. So, were you 16k, Tom, after the first game week?
Yes, after second game week, 16k. Yeah, but incredible. I think it's 121 now or something. So it's gone down a bit, but not too bad.
Dropping like a stone. I think I'm 3 millionth. In fact, I haven't really looked at it. I probably should have looked at it before tonight, but I haven't looked at the rank.
I had to really adjust the font size to fit your rank on, I'm afraid, Nick.
just threes across the board.
Yeah. Had to make it font size 3 to fit it on. Right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to whinging about it.
Oh god. Well, okay. Well, let's maybe adjust the next guest then. So, best feature ever, length of the episode. What's your guess, Nick?
Because there are three of us, and I've got a lot to say. I'm going to go for 91 minutes.
Okay, Tom.
I'll go for an hour and 33.
Oof.
Okay. No, right. I'm going to go an hour and 40. And that's I'm glad my cup of tea.
I mean, this is pretty much in my hands then, isn't it? Because if I just stay quiet, I'll win that. What do we win? It's Curly Whirly again.
There's no prize per episode, I don't think. You can have that weird onion if you like on the screen.
Brilliant.
Right, the man himself, top of the league, FPL The Onion League. You were top, Grey Arrow top last week as well, Tom. How are you feeling about that? 2 points ahead of Mr. Darren and Raj Konwa, who's gone up with a 48 week. Pretty good.
Yeah, I think after the week I had, it's pretty. Yeah, well, we'll come to it. It was pretty bad, and it came up at the end. So I'm relieved to be still top. I think, to be honest, after how it went. So yeah, I'll take it.
Very good. Yeah, for a poor week to still be top's pretty good. Didn't see what that Bogdan Petrovic's team was looking like, but 63, he's made a bit of a dash.
I imagine I reckon he's got Perisic.
Yeah. And one more person in the league from last week, so up to 37. So thanks again for the support there. I'm down in 10th and you're in 18th. So
solidly mid-table there. I'll take that.
Yeah. Right then, in order of how we did. 121k, Tom. This is what you were looking like last week. You, if we remember, were not sure about transfers, were we, last week? You were really thinking of burning one, but you did Neco to the silver, and how'd it go?
Yeah, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't burn the transfer. I had to do something, so I just released the cash. Basically, I was thinking I needed to make some moves, but it's quite interesting, isn't it? I couldn't really decide what to do because my team was in theory so good, and then came out with a 43, and if I played Neto, I think I'd have got 44, so I lost one there. But yeah, it's one of them. Off the back of this week, then I wanted to make 4 transfers, but it was. I mean, I think Salah captain, that late goal really turned it around a bit. I'd have been 10 points lower or whatever, 12 points lower. So I mean, that would have been 31 or something. So that'd been pretty shocking.
Yeah.
I think though the only real time a transfer in this game doesn't actually cost you 4 points is when you're going to burn it anyway. So, and actually, have you seen that because Neto Neto's looking like he might go to Arsenal. And so all those people, you think about it, you would have been in the same boat, Tom. All those people with triple Arsenal who've got Neto, the next time they want to make any transfer, they'd have to get rid of him as well.
Yeah. I think he might be dropping again tonight. So he's already at 5.4. He might be going to 5.3, or he's getting close to dropping anyway. So yeah. No, I'm glad I got rid, because it means that the moves I've done this week are possible without a hit. So it was definitely the right decision, I think. Overall, it's worked out all right. But I just couldn't burn it. I think I was getting pretty close to the deadline, or like before the deadline. I was like, I just can't do it. So I had to do something.
Yeah, fair
Which we haven't really done this much, Lee, but it'd be interesting if you could go back in time and make just one transfer again, which is obviously what you decided to do. What do you wish you had done instead?
I don't know. I probably would have done the same. I don't know. I think the players I missed out on, I guess, none of them I really considered. I think that maybe we'll come on to it, but the people who returned, Rodrigo, I couldn't get him in for that transfer because the cash I had available and stuff like that. So actually, I'm kind of happy with what I did.
Yeah, Cancelo to Perisic.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say,
But then this week I probably
no. I mean, I don't. I don't mean completely ridiculous transfers.
No,
I think when you get to I had about 17 different ways I could have gone. In the end, I think I kind of was quite middling with it, apart from the Rashford goal. But no, I don't think there's anything else that you would have necessarily done in that position which would have turned out better. So
exactly.
Obviously,
I think that shows that
playing Pereira.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless Neto out made you bench Pereira, but as he was behind Neco Williams, probably not. It's a pretty solid move. But that is an interesting question, Nick. And most of the time you'd think, there was a better thing to do. But like you said, Tom, because it's made you do things this week that makes your team very powerful for next week. In our opinion, it was a pretty good move. Just one of those weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And the team is pretty good. I just didn't get hardly any returns off the back four and the keeper, and there's just weren't that many returns out there for the kind of higher owned players. I think that's why it's such a turnaround. From the first 2 weeks, I had most of the right players, and this week it was quite random, wasn't it, with some of the returns? So, or random to me anyway.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because I know hindsight's 2020, but when you look at that Fulham Brentford fixture, to play De Silva over Andreas when Fulham were at home, I guess Brentford had just smashed Man United 4-0, so we just didn't know how good Fulham were or how good Brentford were. But it looks obvious now. But Andreas looks like he, in hindsight, he is definitely the best 4.5, isn't he? And I think we probably will start playing him in certain fixtures.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, and De Silva, scored 2 goals, but they were both fortunate / low XG, weren't they? So maybe that was obvious, and I didn't really spot it, but never mind.
Yeah, Craven Cottage, Fulham are absolutely brilliant, aren't they, so far, drawing at Liverpool and getting that 3-2. But I think their home fixtures are not that nice for a few, isn't it? Chelsea and something else tricky. Chelsea and Brighton coming up, but then after that, Newcastle and Bournemouth. This is 6 game weeks away, but there's a few good ones in there. But I think they've got quite a small pitch at Craven Cottage, didn't they? So I think that's part of it. I think teams are turning up and thinking, what the hell do we do here?
Yeah. Also, I think I was listening to, was it The Wire, where they were talking about it? It might even have been above average FPL, because that is one thing. Since I got back from holiday, I thought on holiday I'd have loads of time to listen to stuff. But actually, obviously, because I was always with my family, you can't just be like, I'll just stick a headphone in and just listen to something in the background. But now that I'm back and I've been kind of doing my chores and stuff, I've had time to listen to stuff. But above average FPL, Baker was saying that he considers Andreas to be like a low price Ward-Prowse, where he's on set pieces. He can do it in any game. He may well do it against the big teams more than the smaller teams. And so even against Arsenal, he's saying you should definitely consider playing him this week. I may well do.
Interesting. You've got a bit of a benching dilemma, haven't you, amongst the 3 sort of enablers, which we'll come to.
Yeah.
I was really put off by not really put off by his flag, but I think that definitely came into it. I mean, I had him first bench, so I was pretty livid about that. But then
that was it. In fact,
you were 12
you're
minutes
right,
away
actually,
from
that was it.
It was clean sheet.
It was the flag, wasn't it? That's what put me off. I didn't know whether he was going to start. And then I think we did get team news, didn't we, on Friday to say that he was okay. But even then, when you've been looking at the flag all week, it's difficult to change it.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating listening to some people like, James Planet FPL, I think, was saying, oh, it was obvious, it was only ever cramp. And I think I texted you actually last week, Tom, saying, oh, apparently it is only cramp. So I think the evidence was kind of there. But like you say, there is that little niggle psychologically. And obviously, one person can come out and just say, oh, it was obvious. Obviously, he was going to play sort of thing, hindsight. But tricky one.
Yeah, I do remember asking you actually that question about the avoid. Yeah, I remember you saying it was cramp. But I think maybe I'd forgotten about the flag. Well, maybe that was part of the reason I put him there on the bench. But yeah, never mind. Yeah, at one point it was looking like Neco Williams might get that return as well, and it was like, oh,
Yeah.
the worst of the three. But I guess at the end it was just
Yeah, you were only 12 minutes away from he was on for, I think, 7-pointer at least, wasn't he?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay, let's move on. I got the same score, no hits. I did 2 frees used, swapped the Liverpool assets over because obviously Diaz returned the week before and he was the sort of main reason for not getting as great a rank. He was sort of the highest owned player I didn't have, and I thought Liverpool defence was looking shaky, so moved that money around a bit. And yeah, in hindsight, I think there was like a 0.5 of a point difference over the next 6 game weeks between Ben Mee and Blimmin Dunk at Brighton, and obviously that would have worked out a lot better had it gone the other way. And the fact that he got 0 in a week where so many defenders were struggling to get above 1 was also a bit of a heartbreaker. But yeah, Salah's goal obviously helped massively, and we discussed Andreas first bench, so pretty meh week, but the first 2 were pretty good, and it was just a bit harsh that the red for all of us is so bad. Like, what was it, 6 mil game week rank or something, was a bit of a stinker. And also having Bailey on the bench.
6.5.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
I got the same rank.
As they say, though, I mean, it was a good week to have a bad week, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah.
I don't think anybody. When you hear about this many people in the top 10k have done this and whatever, but it's still so early in the game that the people who are in the top 10k will be people who've played some chips and just been on all the right players from the start of the season. So there's still a lot to fall out from all of that.
Yeah, no, true. Yeah, it's just what
did you listen? Did you listen, Shlee, to Above Average FPL where they were talking about, or was it might even have been Planet FPL where they were talking about Rico Henry at Brentford and how he's basically playing as a wing back and stuff? Did you hear that?
Oh, right. No, I didn't catch that. I haven't watched Planet FPL, but I watched most of Above Average, I think. But are they playing 5 at the back then?
Yeah, I can't remember. I just remember listening to it. Was it last night or the night before last, where they were talking about the fact that Henry got the assist, I think, or he should have had an assist for a Toney goal or something, and they just
his one was disallowed. Yeah, and he was really advanced.
That's it. But they were just saying that he should be, if you're getting Brentford players in, you should definitely consider him.
Yeah.
While I was listening to it, I was thinking of you with me.
Well, yeah, I was joking with you last week when you were like, "Oh, why did you get Ben Mee in?" And I was joking, well, he's highest on RMT and he was so close with Dunk, but I didn't even consider Henry. And obviously the 15
No, I think your response, which definitely cracked me up, was he scored a goal last week, and which I absolutely loved. He's highest on Rate My Team, and he scored a goal last week, and he's rising tonight, I think was your answer as well.
Well, that's some good reasons to me. Protect that value.
Yeah, crack me up.
Right then. Anyway, and it's a good job I didn't take a hit. Over to you, Nick.
So you made 2? Which 2 do you wish you'd made instead?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I on the pod last week, I didn't say a percentage, I don't think, but it's probably 90% 1 free only, because I was saying this week is a better week for having 2 frees. But I think I've maybe got a bit over obsessed with value. Neto was dropping, Robertson was dropping, and obviously Diaz, Liverpool attack looked better than their defence, so it seemed like a good move. But in hindsight, well, I mean, obviously like Robbo I wasn't aware of the early team news for Spurs. Again, a lot of people were saying, oh, this journalist that Paul or something was on Twitter and he was loads of followers, he was the one that knew, but it wasn't quite in the know. So I guess Robertson to
Yeah.
Perisic would have been great, but I'd never considered that for a moment.
Yeah, I feel really, I just feel really behind this season because, not least because of my rank, but I didn't realize there were, I'm on Twitter, I'm not like religiously on it and checking everything, but when I listened to Planet FPL, they were talking about the fact that they got certain team news on the Friday that Perisic was going to start. And I was like, I didn't get that news.
Yeah,
And I didn't make my transfers till quite late on Friday night. But if I'd known that Perisic was going to start again, it's hindsight, and he, it's funny that he got his assist from kind of a weird flick on from a corner, whereas normally, James was talking up how amazing he is with his delivery,
actually crossing and set pieces. Yeah,
gets these fantastic crosses in. Took, I think, the set piece before the one where he got the flick on, and Son actually took that one. Yeah. So it's such a funny game because we're trying to predict, or we're getting points based on like very marginal things that happen in these games, but it's just funny that he didn't actually get his assist in the normal way, but he does look like a good pick, doesn't he?
My understanding is it was just a journalist who, I don't know, is linked to Spurs, who's got loads of followers, who predicted the team. But now that he's got it right, maybe people are thinking, actually, he's maybe a bit more than just predicting.
Oh, I see.
I think.
Yeah.
So one to watch for this week, although they play Sunday, right? So I don't think we're going to get anything, given it's a Saturday deadline. No. It was the first game, wasn't it?
No, and listening to it, I mean, I do love Planet FPL. I haven't listened to it obviously for a while. I hadn't listened to it yet this season, but James is obviously, if you can't watch the games, it's great to be able to listen to that kind of podcast where they go through each game and they talk about the talking points from the game and who looks good, who doesn't, formations, everything else. And Sudge is just the most perfect foil for James because James is talking really well about everything. And if he had somebody else who was kind of along the same lines as him, just kind of stroking their beard and going, yeah, no, I agree. That's an interesting formation point you've made there. Whereas Sudge is the perfect foil for him. So I do love that. I do love that podcast. But I've realized now last season in not watching that much football, but just making sure I could get that on a Monday or a Tuesday, and then the Wire, and then Black Box some weeks as well, and then obviously doing this, you can just get so much information from just listening to a few people who've seen all these games.
Agreed.
So useful. But he was saying that because Sudge had Perisic, and James was saying that it's brilliant to have him, but he wouldn't necessarily bring him in now because you don't know whether he's going to play the next game. He's a minute's risk. He's not going to play 3 games in a week potentially. But people who've got him and got those points are already loving it and don't need to do anything about it. And obviously, if he doesn't play the next game, it's fine because they've already got their kind of 12 points from him. So I don't think I'm going to rush to bring him in now.
Really?
Yeah, same.
Right. I'm pretty keen next week. I'm not quite sure how I would do it, but I think he's one of those annoying players where if he doesn't start this weekend, you think, right, well, he's probably going to start midweek, so get him in. But if he does start this weekend, you're thinking, right, well, okay, he might be rotated, but he's started 2 in a row now. He's on it. The fixtures aren't too bad. You're sort of one of those. You've got to get him in just to protect your rank.
But how are you? You said as in because if he doesn't play this weekend, fine. You could try and bring him in, knowing that he's quite likely to start the midweek game. But are you saying you're going to bring him in before this weekend, even though you're not going to know whether he's going to start or not?
No, I won't bring him in this week. But it's one of those where, or an extra week of information, but it's almost whatever that information is. I feel, and unless he gets sent off or blanks or something, or gets a 0 or something, I feel pretty highly if I can get him next week without crazy surgery. I will.
Yeah, I mean they've got Forest, haven't they?
Yeah, it's a lush fixture, isn't it? I mean, he did get that assist, but I mean, Wolves played pretty well first half, and Spurs, I thought, were lucky to go in level at half time. So I mean, it was a good return, but it didn't. I mean, it was fairly fortuitous, I thought, in the end. But I've never really contemplated getting him in. I just don't trust him. Which I'm missing out some points, but I don't know. There's probably other areas I'll look to swap before I swap that back 4. Really.
I just feel like he might be. I feel like he might be this season's Reece James. So I feel like if you get him for that game, or I reckon he'll have like 3 games where he gets like a goal and an assist and a clean sheet. He might have 2 or 3 of those games, and if you hit those games, you'll be flying, and if you don't, you'll be dead in the water. And he will be really disappointing. He'll have a lot of 1s, and he'll come on and they'll lose the clean sheet and he won't get anything. But I think there'll be some games where he gets a really big score because his crossing ability is incredible, and he's obviously crossing for Kane, who's pretty good in the air. And I think Kulusevski's pretty good in the air as well. He's certainly big, and he'll be coming in at the back post. But it's just it's so frustrating when those players don't start and don't play. But I don't think I'm going to kill myself to get him in this weekend. But after that I might.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, fixtures aren't too bad, are they? If it's obviously the Forest one would be pretty tasty if he started. It'd just be so good to know whether he's going to start Champions League games, or if even that's a thing. If Conte's thinking, experience would be good, and then he's not really an option. But if it's the opposite and he's just thinking Premier League, that would be lovely in and out rotation, wouldn't it? And he plays every game.
Yeah, I mean, maybe on the wild card, if you might be then you'll know a bit of information, so that might be something to be interesting if you wild card in a few weeks' time. So I think that's the kind of thing I would consider then, but not before.
Yeah, fair enough. That's interesting. We're maybe opposite end of the spectrum on him at the moment. But yeah, it definitely is one where watch what happens this weekend.
I did look 2 nights ago. I think after hearing James talk, waxing lyrical about his crossing ability, I looked at whether I could get him, and he'd gone up to 5.5 the night before. I could have gone Zinchenko to him because I've got 0.2 in the bank. I've literally missed like every single price rise going this season, which is probably a good thing. Zinchenko to Perisic in a panic because Perisic was going to rise is probably not the best thing to be doing anyway. But
agreed. And it could be just one of those where it's such a low scoring week. I mean, we'll see in a minute. No one highly owned got more than 10 points, so Perisic's 12 is really golden light, and maybe we're all just drawn to that. And actually, it's not, like you say, that high up the list to get him in.
Yeah.
Right, over to you, Nick. How did it go? So you took a hit. Your transfer on the screen.
Yeah, I was messaging. I mean, obviously, I got back late last week, and I was messaging you guys about these changes, and I was reticent to take Rashford out because I did have a pretty strong feeling that he was going to score against Liverpool. Before that happened, it probably sounded ridiculous or sounded unlikely, but then obviously that's how it played out. But I just felt with Trent playing right back, Rashford's had Trent's number in quite a few games before, I seem to remember, and obviously Liverpool playing quite a high line, United being a very, very wounded animal at the moment, but still quite appreciating the way Ten Hag's speaking and the fact that he's not shying away and he's doing interviews. And I did I don't want to brag too much publicly on the internet, but I did message quite a few people saying I reckon it'll be 2-1 United and Rashford will score, and then that's what happened. So, but in what I'd obviously even when I took Rashford out, I thought there is a chance that he could do something against Liverpool, and he's got Southampton next. But I just couldn't really ignore the fact that United had such a terrible start, and I needed to I'd lost 0.2 on Rashford already, even at the point that I made this transfer.
Wow.
So I was just trying to strengthen the midfield and needed a cash cow for that. And Robertson seemed, particularly when I thought United were going to score, even if it wasn't Rashford, I thought take Robertson out. He's had a pretty poor start to the season by his standards. Hasn't created a chance, I think, for quite a few game weeks, even before at the end of last season as well. He hasn't been creating much. So yeah, in the end, obviously wasn't too bad taking Robertson out at all. Zinchenko, I think I kind of finished mid-table on this transfer as well, because I was considering Perisic briefly at the start of last week, but then I didn't hear that team news on Friday. I may have taken that risk. I may not. I was also considering Cucurella. I was considering Walker as well, and obviously so Zinchenko actually did pretty well versus those guys. Felt pretty unlucky with Kulusevski. I watched a little bit of the Spurs game, and I think he was the guy who put the cross in, which Kane then headed onto the bar, so that was a bit annoying. And again, I thought he played pretty well, and then Planet FPL James as well said that he was their best player as well. So I'm pleased to have Kulusevski. It was annoying that he didn't return, but it's that thing where I think with this team, I didn't have a good week. Obviously, would have done much better if I just kept Rashford, and I'd still have an extra an extra transfer this week or 2 transfers this week. But yeah, I'm really pleased with this team moving forward, and I think it would be a mistake to, on the back of a kind of unlucky week, to start trying to chase points and take hits. And when I look at this team, it looks pretty good for the next game week.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I think it's important to get Arsenal defence. So, I mean, obviously, you took a 4-point hit, but that was, I guess, one obvious thing against the template, and they're just getting the results, aren't they? So that was important. I mean, obviously, in hindsight, Saliba would have been lush, but I think that's his second career goal or something crazy. So I think that was just one of those things.
Yeah, and I mean, I was obviously very jealous of you, Tom, having Zinchenko from the start with his. Did he get 12 points in the first week? I think it was 12, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was 12. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember listening to you saying that you were a bit worried about him because he might get taken out, or he might lose his place, or might be rotated. But I was just before I made this transfer, I was obviously looking at Cucurella and Walker and Zinchenko and comparing them all. And Zinchenko's kind of expected goal involvement is like 5 times what Walker's is. And with Cucurella, I just don't think the Chelsea defense is very strong, obviously as it turned out. And I just love all this, like Cucurella getting the assist from the corner in his first game, great. But I think he got 1 goal and 1 assist last season, so it's not like he's Tarek. It's not like he's Lamptey or something from Brighton, and you think, oh, in a good team he's going to get 1 million assists. So I just thought Zinchenko, he's playing so well. I just don't see him losing his place in that team. And even if they want to put Tierney in, I think they'll find another spot for Zinchenko in the team. He's one of the guys making them tick at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if you watched Match of the Day, but they did a little bit of chat about Zinchenko, kind of the analysis afterwards, and I mean they just highlighted a few of his his moving off the ball. Yeah, just I think that's the reason I put him straight in the team in Gameweek 1 is I think he's a good player and he's just good on the ball. He's got a bit of everything. I know they're a bit worried about him defensively, but the way Arsenal play at the moment, they're pretty much hitting everyone, pretty hard on there and going forward. So I think that he's not getting caught out too much going the other way. Palace did expose him a little bit in that the first game of the season, was it Palace? But other than that, he looked pretty good.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because I didn't watch Match of the Day. I just saw that clip. I think I'm probably looking for a lot of confirmation bias. It was like somebody talking about Zinchenko, so I was like, let me have a look at this. But in those clips, he wasn't playing left back. He was like on the right hand side of defensive midfield when he was like dancing about with the ball, just like had all the time in the world. I'm like, I don't know what formation they're playing. It's like he's an inverted opposite flank wing back or something. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah. There's a lot of chat about people saying, he's going to play the Cancelo role and all that kind of stuff, and everyone's like, well, maybe not, but maybe that is more what he actually is doing. It's
funny. It shows what I know about football though, because at City, I thought he was like the worst player in their team because obviously he's surrounded by all these unbelievable players who can control possession and take the ball under pressure and everything else. And yet actually, because he is has been part of that City setup, and training with Guardiola and obviously with Arteta and now with Arteta at Arsenal, but he's so comfortable on the ball that he does look like one of the best players at Arsenal, whereas at City he was like, why isn't Cancelo playing left back today, kind of thing. So
yeah, you're just like, is that Kevin De Bruyne? Oh, am I squinting? And he played a pass, you're like, it's not Kevin De Bruyne. But I think was it when he played for the Euros and he played for Ukraine? He's basically playing left wing and just absolutely
for Ukraine, doesn't he?
Maybe it was centre midfield, but he was just so advanced looking, and I was like, apparently that's where he started, and then they converted him to a left back, didn't they, or something? So,
right.
So it'd be interesting to see what happens when Tierney comes back.
Yeah, I mean, Tierney's been on the bench the last 2 games, hasn't he? And he hasn't. I think he came on, but he didn't come on for Zinchenko, so I don't know where they moved Zinchenko to. But the only thing that complicates it is that Xhaka's playing so well. Because I think that Xhaka position is Zinchenko's in waiting if Tierney comes back and stays fit, which is obviously a huge if. But Xhaka apparently is playing brilliantly. I don't think Arteta will change it if he doesn't have to.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's another Liverpool type thing. He's going to bring Tierney on for the last 10 minutes with 5 subs, and Robertson to Simicast type thing. Just give him a bit of a rest.
Yeah. The only other things, I think you kind of covered it, but there was a time on. Was it Saturday where I was thinking I might get a Ward clean sheet and a Neco Williams clean sheet, and then they both went in the last 5 to 10 minutes. That was pretty devastating because that would have carried the week definitely. And obviously I'd benched Zaha for Ward, thinking Ward's got that great fixture, but obviously you never. I was quite relieved when Spurs scored against Wolves because I was thinking this could be, because you'd said to me, Tom, if you've got Kulusevski, don't start Zaha because it'll be upsetting. And then when Wolves were playing it really tight, I was like, actually, if I had played Zaha, I'd be kind of hedging my bets a bit more. But yeah, as it was, I missed out on 2 points with that goalkeeper move as well.
Yeah, well, a 3-point goalkeeper this week was a decent return, wasn't it? Yeah, with Ward blanking and
it would have been, yeah.
Edison with a 1. Yeah, that's frustrating. Big at the back.
Yeah.
Should we move on to fixtures? What
yes,
happened in
indeed.
games? So I've gone for a different supplier this week. Also probably quite difficult for you to see, and it's not in order either. So I'll just shout out the order it's on here, and then we can run through them. So Spurs, Wolves is first. Maybe it's actually roughly in order. So yeah, 1.7 XG for Spurs, so pretty good. But like you say, Tom, Wolves were decent in big patches of this, wasn't they? Did they play both their new signings, Guedes and the other guy? Because they were Planet FPL were quite keen on those two.
Yes.
Actually.
I forgot what his name is. This plays in the mid, doesn't he? But Nunes, yeah, with an S, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So Wolves, yeah, they had a couple of good chances. I think Guedes had a chance, didn't he? They had a couple of headed chances, remember right, in the first half. But yeah, I mean, Wolves should have probably been ahead. Spurs looked pretty off it in the first 45, but yeah, they just came back and then played well in the second half. So yeah, as a non-Spurs owner, I was willing Wolves on, apart from Neto, obviously. When he didn't do much, so I was happy about that. But yeah.
I mean, yeah. So Kane hit the bar. Did he do it? It says here, Kane central and direct, dangerous headers, 4 shots in the box, hitting the post. Oh right, I thought it was the bar. Maybe hit the post as well. 2 chances created.
I don't remember him hitting the post, but I think maybe the post. Yeah, maybe the post happened just before half time. He hit the bar in the second half, I thought. Which is strange.
And are you guys keen at all on, well, we'll come to sort of moves later, but considering Kane instead of Haaland with the possible City rotation, or you're just not thinking they're quite ticking? You know, the first week they scored 4, didn't they? But only 1 involvement for Son and Kane. Kane's got the minutes, but they don't seem that explosive.
I think that is the one risk of listening to the content as I do, because I listened to The Wire last night, and certainly Bakar and Late Riser were just so against the Haaland to Kane move. They were just like, they were saying Haaland's a much better asset. Kane's not looked on it. I mean, if you watch that Wolves game, Kane does look on it. Obviously, he scored 2 weeks in a row after blanking in the Southampton game. So I think sometimes you listen to that stuff and it kind of cements in your mind like, right, I'm not going to go for Kane then. But I think you have to go back and consider that stuff. You can take it into account, but you need to make your own decision on it and have your own thought process and not just accept what they're saying. But at the moment, I'm not considering doing it just because I think I really want to roll a transfer this week and have 2 next week.
Oh yeah, not for this week. I'm thinking next week. You know, given the City midweek and what plan and what Bakker and the guys said, which was true, was even if we think Haaland's going to get rotated next week, removing Haaland with Forest at home is a scary proposition, even if you think he might get 20
But that's
minutes.
the thing, because I think if you're going to do it, you have to look at the fact that Spurs have got Forest this week, because I don't think you want to move to Kane. You know, again, if you reverse these fixtures round, I was thinking this with Perisic earlier, if you reverse the West Ham and Forest fixtures, it'd be much nicer, because you could see if Perisic started against West Ham. If he didn't, you could get him in for Forest. But it's kind of the wrong way around, because West Ham haven't made a good start at all. But they're going to be a bit like United against Liverpool. They're going to be well up for the Spurs game. They hate Spurs. If they're still on a bad, if they haven't done anything against Villa this weekend, they're going to have to do something in that Spurs game. So I'd expect West Ham to give Spurs a really good game. But it's the same with Kane and Haaland. If Haaland comes off the bench against Forest, he could get a goal, he could get a couple of goals, and Kane could blank against West Ham. So I just don't think it's worth the transfer.
Yeah,
Haaland to Kane and 6 is a lot better. If Haaland played next midweek, get that Forest game, that'd be sweet. And then because the switch is a lot easier then, and okay, Fulham have been good, but Tottenham v Fulham looks better. It's so hard to know.
Yeah, I think I am keen on Kane, but I'd only go to Kane if I can go to KDB to cover City, and that's my problem. Then I'd have to go Salah to KDB, so I've got to drop Salah, and then Salah's got Bournemouth. I think if I was ballsy enough to go no City this week against Palace and play Salah and Kane, and then go Salah to KDB next week for Forest, that's what I would do. But I'd have to take a -4 this week and go no City this week, no City attack this week, which is a bit too scary for me at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think.
So I think I'm going to stick. Yeah, I think I'll stick with what I've got, but that is probably what I would do if I had the transfers. But don't know if I would.
Yeah, you'd be in a great spot if you. I mean, obviously Salah did well first week, but you would be in a good spot if you had gone without Salah but had De Bruyne instead, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's just that Bournemouth fixture's juicy, isn't it? Well, maybe it isn't juicy the way Liverpool playing, but it's hard to take him out.
No, but I do think that so much in sport is about, we're talking about these people's careers. Liverpool are going to, they're going to come out of the blocks really, really hard against Bournemouth. They're going to want to prove a point. Klopp's going to be on them. They haven't become a bad team overnight. There's no way I'm taking Trent or Salah out before Bournemouth. But, after that, if they don't do well against Bournemouth, then I think you can, they've got a tough fixture after that.
It is at Anfield, but Newcastle is tough, isn't
Newcastle,
it?
Yeah.
The hard thing in this game is, you keep Salah for Bournemouth, he smashes a hat-trick. Are you really going to take him out before a Newcastle at home game? And yet, really, the smart thing to do is probably then to switch him to KDB and have that Forest fixture.
Yeah.
And yet, will you do that if he does really well against Bournemouth? That's the hard thing about this game.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's one of those where warm up a few options this week because, and being midweek, you're not going to have much time to think either. You have to do that sort of Tuesday lunchtime type thing. It's going to be, you say, it's going to be a ballsy move.
Is there a chance? I mean, obviously, everyone's talking about the fact that Haaland's going to be benched against Forest because that's what Pep said. I think what's more likely is if they're beating Palace comfortably, he comes off early and then gets, if he comes off on 65 minutes, you got to think he's going to start Forest as well.
Yeah.
Isn't he more likely to be rested against Villa because is the Champions League? Is there a Champions League game midweek after the Villa game?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's more likely to be benched against Villa, isn't he?
Could be. I think that also depends on. I don't know. Is Haaland got like a great record in the Champions League, and is he more a Champions League player? So he's probably
he's got an unbelievable record in the Champions League. I think he was the youngest player ever to get to like 10 goals or something, wasn't he? In his
right.
And in the lowest number of games, he's absolutely insane in the Champions League. That's probably why they've bought him.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot could check. Yeah, I mean, and also the results this weekend. Maybe Liverpool do flop and it's blimmin' 0-0, and City batter Palace, and you think, well, there's like you say, there's no way you can change Haaland even if he gets 30 minutes against Forest. But maybe Salah is the one to get rid there because Liverpool are just not on it.
And do you go double City then? Would you ever go double City against Forest?
Could do, but that's going to be tricky for us, isn't it? With double defence, Tom. But yeah, I sort of have thought of that as well.
Have to take a hit, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was the other reason why I didn't go for Walker, because I just felt it blocked me out a little bit from, having 3 City. Then you lose that flexibility, especially when there's De Bruyne floating out there, and you think, I don't really want any of their other mids because I just hate not knowing. But Bruyne is the one.
Yeah. I think Haaland and De Bruyne against Forest, that then is too much rotation risk. Surely you'd bench one of them. But against Forest, no offense to Forest, maybe you bench one in Forest and bench one in Villa, but you don't know which way around it's going to be.
Maybe. You reckon? Yeah, is De Bruyne not going to start most games at the moment? He's not as injury prone as Haaland. He wasn't getting rotated like that last season, I don't think.
Yeah, it's funny how blue those fixtures are as well, isn't it, for City? Because when you actually read them out, Tottenham at home, it's not going to be easy. Wolves away, Wolves are really tight and can play it tight and will do. Then you've got United at home, fine, but United have just shown that they're happy to sit back and play on the counter attack. Then you've got Southampton. Then you've got Liverpool and Arsenal away. I mean, they're not actually amazing, those fixtures.
Yeah, but you can say the same about Liverpool as well, and maybe that's your point. Like, Everton's a derby, Chelsea's not easy, Brighton, they're a smart team. They could do something tactically. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing, though, isn't it? Because with a lot of people talking about wildcarding in game, around game week 7, 8, do you get rid of your Liverpool players? And if they don't show any better form, I think they'll beat Bournemouth 4-5-0 this weekend. But you're right, Everton, Wolves, Chelsea, Brighton, Arsenal, City, West Ham. That is pretty horrendous, really.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've both got. Well, yeah, we've got Diaz, haven't we, Nick? No, sorry, you haven't. I'm tripled up, and I'm thinking one of Salah or Diaz could go if they don't do something in these next 2 home ones. I might even get rid of Diaz next week. I think it's too risky at the moment to get rid of Salah. He's still such a good captaincy option. Some of these, this week for sure, and then next week possibly if we're uncertain about City minutes.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because obviously everyone at the start of the season, it was all about can you go against Salah? Few people did it. They went for Son instead, etc. Obviously that hasn't worked out, but the real thing that was staring us in the face was Trent, wasn't it? And everyone was like, 7.5 is amazing. He should have been 8.59. If you'd gone against Trent, I think he's got 4 points in the first 3 games. There's I can't remember which Brighton defender it is, but he's got like 18 points. You're like, if I'd gone against Trent, I could have had some mega points here and the cash to spend.
Yeah. like Webster last season or something. 4.3, absolutely banging it in for Brighton. But yeah, even Trent could be the cash cow as well. Even if you went down to save Van Dijk or something to save some cash, if they're leaky at the back and everyone's targeting Trent because he doesn't look on it.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at that, thinking about potentially like Trent to Perisic as my way of getting Perisic in and getting the cash to upgrade and get on the bandwagons like Rodrigo and Toney and those guys. So that's why I really want to roll this week, because it just makes even if I take a -4 next week and make 3 transfers, I can really make some big moves next week.
Exactly what I'm thinking. Yeah, which not saying your moves this week are wrong, Tom, because it'll come to you've made the 2 frees and your team looks insane. But next week targeting at least 3 players, maybe even 4, and just think, okay, well, push the wild card back a bit, but I want to get 4 players in, and it'll only cost a -8, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm not ruling out a hit next week, to be honest. Yeah, Trent is definitely someone I'm looking at as. Yeah, again with Bournemouth, you got to play him, I think. But then if they concede against Bournemouth, then you probably go in, to be honest.
Yep.
Schlee's talking about -8s in game week 4. This is what's going on?
I'll tell you what we haven't spoken about for the last 5 minutes was the Spurs Wolves fixture, which we're on at the moment. So let's try and get back on track. Timestamps this are going to be a nightmare. That's like 10 minutes of City, but
that is one thing I noticed about you guys doing your pods, is that it was a lot more focused, a lot more on on point. I've come to just ruin everything, so sorry about that.
Right, should we move on to the next one? Anything more on Spurs and Wolves? Okay, Fulham and Brentford. Mitrovic looked good in this, didn't he? Everyone's saying he could have had way more, and their fixtures are not brilliant, but I would say at Craven Cottage you could be the man. As I say, he had dangerous 7 shots in the box with 4 big chances.
I want Mitrovic.
Yeah.
Just not yet.
Yeah, exactly. I think in a couple of weeks he'll be coming in.
I think Fulham are going to finish. I think they're going to finish 10th, 11th. I think they're going to be really strong. I think they'll lose some games by big scores, but I think they'll surprise a lot of people and do really well. And I think Mitrovic is going to he's going to get 20 goals, isn't he?
And their fixtures from 8 are really good, I think, aren't they? So.
Yeah, well, just looking at that on paper from 8, but then that is an away game. And if the Craven Cottage thing is a thing, maybe even from next week, Brighton, okay, they've started well, but they're not rock solid at the back. They're just playing nice football. And Chelsea, we've just seen what's happened to Leeds. If Fulham get in their face and press them, they could lose that. So maybe
I don't like those fixtures until 11, because if it is Craven Cottage, like Newcastle are good, Chelsea are good, Brighton are good.
Okay.
I think
if I can't afford Toney next week and I can only afford Mitrovic, I might do that. I think
I'd do that. Yeah, I guess I'm on Toney, so I'm going to keep Toney until at least 8, and then maybe I'll think about switching to Mitrovic.
The switch on 8 is good, isn't it? Yeah, I've seen that.
But no, he looks good, doesn't he, Mitrovic?
Yeah, Toney's from 8 aren't too bad, so maybe you'll be 3 up front with Mitrovic and Toney instead then.
Maybe KDB times.
Yeah, I think having that slot in that price point in the strikers is really helpful, isn't it? And I was looking at it and thinking, obviously no one's losing Jesus, you're keeping him. It's whether you go without Haaland or a Kane. I don't think I want to do that either. So you have to do what you've done, Tom, and upgrade that that 4.5 or that third striker slot, which is you need a lot of cash to do it. But you're right, just having Toney for these fixtures, and Toney's obviously started really well, and I don't see that changing. But at some point, whether it be anywhere between 8 and 11, it would be nice to go from Toney to Mitrovic, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, Ben Mead's got Everton next week, so I'm definitely keeping him for that. But maybe the writing was on the wall there. Brentford were going to concede a lot, given the Liverpool fixture in game week 1 and Craven Cottage. But I think I'm worried about captaining anyone against Fulham and Brentford, say, because they look like they could do something against anyone.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about identity, isn't it? It's the word that I hate the most. Everyone bangs on about identity, but you watch those two teams play, and they are them and Brighton. They're a joy to watch, aren't they? So they know exactly what they're doing, how to get the best out of their players, and what a difference I think. Like this time round, under Marco Silva compared to what they were under Scott Parker, and whoever started that season when Mitrovic scored 3 goals in the season, and now he's suddenly looks like he's going to score 3 every game. Like just playing to his strengths.
Yeah, he's going to do really, really well. I think you're right. I don't think I'd necessarily worry about captaining, good players with good teams against Fulham, because I don't think they're going to be particularly tight at the back. But I think they will.
True.
I think they will cause some upsets. But if Haaland had Fulham next week, I'd captain him against Fulham. I'm not afraid of their defence.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay. Who did Fulham? They drew last week with someone, didn't they? I think. 2-2 with Liverpool week 1. What did they do away last week?
It was 0-0 with Wolves, wasn't it? Because he missed the penalty against the mighty Saha.
Yes. Okay.
But Wolves attack. I mean, Wolves attack is deadly. So Fulham keeping a clean sheet there, they've done well.
Right, next up, your boys, Tom. What Zaha absolutely wrecking you.
Yeah, I mean, Zaha and Eze and that were just really good, I thought. They both looked on it, pace. I mean, I don't think it was a penalty, but also they were unlucky to have the one that was disallowed. It was marginal offside. They were, by far the better team. So, I think Palace's fixtures again are not. Well, they're swinging in a little while, are they? They've been pretty bad at the beginning. But Zaha, I think if I could get to Zaha in a few weeks, I'd consider him. But I don't know quite how I'm going to fit him in, because he's just a bit more than, your Rodrigo and everyone else. But they look a good side under Vieira, don't they?
I think the trouble, I'd absolutely love to get to Zaha. But the trouble is, I was looking at this the other day, it's kind of, we don't have enough midfield spots, and yet we've got 5. So you've got your Salah in there. Then if you want to have Rodrigo, because he's doing so well and he's very well priced, even though he seems to rise every day at the moment. Then you've got your Andreas, because everyone's got Andreas
And Martinelli. That's 4.
And then you've got your 8 million mid, and it's just very, very difficult to find a spot for Zaha. But he's doing so well, and I think they were saying it was either on the Wire or Planet FPL, but he's the 3rd highest scoring player in the league since Christmas or something ridiculous.
Yeah, what was it? 11 goals in his last 18 games or something crazy. And what is he, 7 mil? Or 7.2 now?
I think he's 7.
Yeah,
he might be
7-1,
7.2
right.
now. Yeah.
You say about 8 mil midfielders though, Nick, but and easy to say with Kulu blanking twice. I know he got a big one in game week 1. I mean, Diaz has only got 1 point. Maddison's obviously in electric form, but Leicester look all over the place. I'm not sure about 8 mil midfielders after a couple of weeks. I can see us having more 7s and 6s, or maybe 2 or 3 in midfield.
Yeah, I didn't even consider Zaha as part of that Rashford move. Didn't even think about him at all. Obviously should have done. But again, now that I've got Kulu in, I can't go Kulu to Zaha because it's just too soon. I feel like I'm chasing points. They've obviously got City next, etc., etc. So you're right. I mean, in a few weeks' time, I could do that. But so maybe you're right. Maybe that is the slot. Maybe it's the 8 million down to Zaha, who by then might be like 7.4, 7.5. So maybe that is the move. But you've got Gundogan around that price as well, then, haven't you? And they've got good fixtures. So.
Yeah, I think with those fixtures you wouldn't bring Zaha in. Probably I wouldn't at the moment.
No, I mean that Brentford fixture is good, but actually, again, when you look at them kind of close, United are not that easy. Maybe now they've got a bit of form, and from
Zaha
10 it's okay.
Always does well against United. He always does well against United. Yeah,
point to prove.
Yeah. and it's at home. And you're right. I mean, if the United defence is Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire, Lindelof, and Shaw, then yeah, have Zaha. But you know, if it's the defence we saw against Liverpool, I think that is going to be quite a solid defence now. They have to continue it against Southampton, don't they? But as you say, that could tear up all the fixture tickers with United suddenly looking like a decent side.
Yep. And just on Bailey, Tom, how high do you think people should have him on benches or in starting 11 this week? Would you say?
I would get rid. Personally,
Really?
I just think he's too streaky, and Villa just don't look at it at the moment. Okay, we beat Bolton last night or whatever in the cup, but I mean, I think with those fixtures, I mean, the next 3 weeks, I mean, West Ham, okay, they're not in great form, but I don't think we're going to get a lot in the next 3 weeks. To be honest, we look pretty bad at the back, not brilliant going forward. Palace completely outplayed us in that game. Really, I know Bailey got that assist and hit the woodwork, didn't he? But yeah, I'd be offloading Bailey if I had him.
Problem is, where do you go with him? I can unfortunately see myself having him until game week 8, and then actually they're not too bad for a bit, and maybe he's got a bit of form then, and I won't enjoy it. But and he'd be 4.7 by then.
He might have a new manager by then.
Yeah.
Well, I just think we're a better team without with Ings and Watkins. We only played that against Everton and Bolton, which is not exactly great statistics really. But like they're the only 2 games where we actually did anything, frankly, going forward. The 2 games against Palace and Bournemouth, okay, they're both away. I think they're both where Bailey started. Yeah, it's not even like we're hitting people on the counter. Bailey's there for the counter attack, surely, but we couldn't even get it going on the counter really against Palace. So I don't know. I'm not that confident in the attack at Villa at the moment.
Big crunch game.
I think it's
Villa and West Ham this week.
Yeah, it is West Ham, isn't it? It's a huge lesson for next season, for the start of next season, which feels like a long way away. But you know, we all saw Bailey did well in pre-season. We were like, it's 5 million. This could be great. He's going to play. And yet the issue is you've got to try and think about what you're going to do if, he doesn't do something in the first game. He drops by 0.1. I mean, I had 0.5 in the bank, but as soon as I missed that Kane Haaland, I dropped 0.2 when Kane dropped and Haaland rose on that Sunday night. And since then, I might as well have just let the price rises go because I couldn't do anything with 0.3 to try and move Bailey somewhere. So,
yeah,
maybe I would have gone to Neto or something. But it's very difficult, isn't it? At the start of the season, if you think, oh, this could go well, but you've got to think about what happens if it doesn't go well and where you're going to go from there. And a 5 million mid is very difficult to replace in one move.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the lesson. Go on, sorry, Tom.
I was just going to say, I think at home in game week 4, he's more likely to start 2 up front. So I think he's likely to be benched. Gerrard likes 2 up front at home. But,
yeah. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Do you think if you're choosing between Pereira away at Arsenal, who's obviously on free kicks and crossing for Mitrovic, etc., and can hit one, would you start him over Bailey then?
I think I would. I think he's more likely. He's definitely going to start, isn't he? I think he's more likely to get something. Yeah.
Yeah, it is that risk, isn't it? I mean, I do think if Bailey starts, I mean, I haven't watched any of Villa, but from what I've heard, he's a live wire and he's hitting some decent shots, and he's obviously got a couple of assists, or has he got one assist in the last game? But if somebody's going to do something at Villa, and West Ham obviously have had a terrible start as well, I just think if he starts, if you knew that he started, you would have him over Pereira, but you just don't know that he's going to start.
Yeah, I mean, he did score last night against Bolton as well, but I just think at home, I think it's 50-50 or less that he'll start against West Ham.
But Gerrard's kind of playing for his job at the moment, isn't he? And so I think especially I didn't realise Bailey had scored last night. I think he has to start with Bailey on the weekend.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he'll start Watkins, Ings, and then Coutinho in behind. I think that's what he'll start. That's what he's preferred at home. Yeah, I don't know. I think Ings scored last night. Watkins has been on reasonable form. I think they'll, and again, I don't think he's going to drop Coutinho. So I think those 3 are the main 3, to be honest.
Did Coutinho play last night? Because Coutinho was dropped for the last game, wasn't he?
He did play. I don't know if he started, but he did play. Let me have a look.
yeah, I mean, I guess they got tonked the last game, didn't they? So
just on your point,
Yeah,
Nick,
he did start. Yeah,
of starting, who you start lesson for last season. I mean, in a way, that's maybe what Tom did right in that, because you only started with one of Bailey or Neto, right, Tom? Whereas I think you and I, Nick, had both.
no, I didn't. I didn't have Neto. I had Rashford, didn't I, instead?
Okay. But
Yeah,
even so,
that was.
identifying...
I had two big risks. I had Rashford and Bailey, didn't I? They were my mega
right.
risks.
Okay. But in a way, yeah, maybe identifying that they are risk, and where do you go from them was a bit of a flag, in that you should only have one of them. I mean, as it turns out, Bailey did okay this week, but difficult to hit that return.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because I was thinking about the whole kind of like Rashford and Bailey thing, but do you remember at the start of the season when we got the pricing, and I was looking at like I was comparing kind of Rashford and Martinelli, and Martinelli now is like the fastest riser in the game, 6.4 now.
Yeah.
And I was saying he looked like amazing value, but if he'd been benched for one of these games, if he hadn't done what he'd done, he could have just been very easily another Rashford, right? And obviously United had, I can't remember who their first fixture was, but they had obviously had Brentford in the second game, and then the game they actually won was the Liverpool game. So it is hindsight is everything, but Rashford could have had a much better start to the season. I think who did they have in the first game where he missed? I think he missed a decent chance in that first game. Was it Brighton?
Brighton,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And he apparently missed a good chance in that first game. So that goes in. There's just, there are some fine margins in this game, but definitely Rashford and Bailey were risks to have at start, and Neto. So
yeah,
you never know.
Right, let's whiz through these a bit more, which is going off topic, which is fine. But we're only on 3 fixtures. So fourth one, the Leicester, terrible XG, 0.26 against Southampton. Maddison, obviously, along with Zaha's keeping up this crazy run, but Leicester looking pretty big trouble, don't they?
Yeah, I think he's going to lose his job soon, I think.
Yeah.
Did James Ward-Prowse get a return in this? Did he get an assist? I think he did, and he's just ticking along. Classic James Ward-Prowse. Beyond the onset pieces.
People always say you should have him, and no one does.
Yeah, and he likes away fixtures a bit more. Everyone's saying it's hard to know when he returns, but I think made the point in the last season, Nick, he actually does prefer away a lot more. So, I mean, claiming all away games easier said than done, but they're still pretty bad here.
I don't think we should read too much into this game. I don't think Southampton. I mean, I actually tipped Southampton for relegation at the start of the season. I think it was probably over the top, but I don't think they're gonna do much. They'll probably beat United now at the weekend, but their team on paper is pretty terrible. I think I wouldn't go there for any assets really.
I think they normally start quite well, don't they? Hasenhüttl, I think maybe, I don't know, the summer rest, he gets a lot out of them, and then they all just get knackered halfway through the season. So maybe it's pretty typical, and they'll just struggle.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, quite fast out of the blocks, aren't they? But they definitely struggled back end of the last couple of seasons, didn't they? So
yeah,
I mean, probably one of the reasons why they start well is they don't really make any signings, do they? I mean, I think they brought in a couple of loan players. I think did they sign Lavia from City? Was that a signing or a loan? I don't know, but they probably just do well at the start of the season because they don't have to integrate anyone. I don't really remember them making any big signings, but I don't think I wouldn't consider them for FPL assets. And the day that I get James Ward-Prowse in, I think it's all over. If I can't fit Zaha into my midfield, I'm not fitting James Ward-Prowse.
Did you hear what Late Riser was saying about the United Southampton game being, a good test almost for United? If they can't beat Southampton after that Liverpool game, then that's alarm bells. But it's a completely different sort of game, and they need to find a different way to win. It's probably quite an interesting point.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was chatting to somebody about that today. The fact that if they lose the Southampton game, it's almost worse than if they'd lost the Liverpool game as well in some way, because it's like it was another false dawn. And how many false dawns do they want? I think they just need to make sure that they don't underestimate Southampton. I think it's probably quite good that it's away, because they need to go in there and they need to focus. And I actually think they will win that game, and then hopefully they'll get some momentum, because then they've got Leicester next, and if Leicester haven't let Brendan Rodgers go by then, I think that's a very winnable game for United as well, and then they can actually build some momentum. But yeah, you wouldn't be surprised if Southampton beat United in the next game after, given what we've seen in the last few years.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But apparently Fernandes was pretty decent for United in that game, wasn't he? But they haven't really got a block coming up. If that Leeds game was in the middle of a load of other good fixtures from 8-ish, I could see him maybe coming on our radar soon.
I watched a little bit of the second half of the United-Liverpool game. I didn't think Fernandes looked very good. He was quite wasteful. He missed some pretty easy passes. He miscontrolled a few things. He doesn't look on it to me, but obviously that result now. This is the thing now with United. We have no idea. I was gutted to miss that Rashford goal, but even Rashford, he didn't celebrate that goal. He didn't smile. He didn't get angry. He didn't do anything. He just kind of he's for the last 18 months. Rashford's had this very kind of stony face, almost like he's very upset about what's going on at the football club. But he's not getting angry about it, and he's obviously not excited. If Rashford scores against Southampton and actually smiles, I might think about bringing him back in. But it was a great goal. It was a great finish, and we know he can do that. But I'm so unsure about that squad. But I think Martial might be a good shout if he comes back in, and I think he will.
Yeah, Martial, Sancho, Rashford. That front three could be pretty tasty if they got it going.
Yeah.
I didn't think Bruno was that great, but I think he's too expensive, and he's like 10 mil or something, or maybe dropped a bit, but he's like up there, and he 9 something. I just think I'm not going to be able to get him in the team.
No.
Yeah, fair. Just thinking if they had a good little attacking run and he's on pens, and I think we're talking about playing number 10, but then if they are playing those front three, which I also heard, Tom, not sure how that would work. But yeah, I don't think the fixtures are kind of there in a nice block.
But I think if again, you just don't know what's going to happen with Ronaldo. Are they going to get Ronaldo out of the club before the transfer window closes? Apparently, there's talk of he wants his contract to be cancelled, but then he'll just rock up at Chelsea and score 20 goals, and we'll be upset about that. But with him there, you can't invest in United yet because you just don't know which way it's going to go. But I think if they get a run of games where they're playing Sancho, Rashford, and Martial up front, then any of those three could be quite a good shout.
Yeah.
Everton Forest next. I just remember someone saying about this that just target both their defences because they both look really leaky. Obviously, Williams was close to getting a clean sheet, but you must be pretty happy having him, Tom, because he does look not just a 4.0 defender. He's got some attacking threat, isn't he?
Yeah, no, look good. I mean, he's never probably going to. Well, he might start the odd game, but he's probably going to be bench fodder. But looks like he might rise, I think, in the next couple of days as well. But I wrote on this game. I basically wrote not considering any of these assets, any of these teams, other than Neco Williams that I've already got. I think it's pretty. Yeah, but Patterson's interesting if you want 2 4 mil defenders, I guess.
Yeah. And Henderson might be on wild cards in a few weeks. He's good 4.5 option.
Maybe.
I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed that I don't have that 5th playing defender. Because I think what will happen with Neco Williams is he will get the odd attacking return and he'll be on my bench when he gets it. And I think when you look at, if you could have Perisic for 5.4 last week, are there any midfielders at 5.4 that you would want? And you can have Perisic for 5.4. I just wish that I had that 5th playing defender, and yet, I mean, I might end up. I was talking about having a lack of midfield spots. I might end up with a 5-2-3 on my wild card. Could be, ridiculous.
I think. Well, I'm not too far off that formation now, but 5-3-2. But yeah, I think if we're talking about Mitro, Jesus, and Toney soon, could be.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, it's good. I whinged about the pricing at the start of the season. I actually think it is quite interesting because there's so many different ways to go. And the template's strong, but the people who are doing well are people who kind of went against the template, aren't they? So,
well, I don't know. I think maybe
top 10K doing well have gone against the template.
Okay. I'd have thought if you had the template but Perisic, you were probably also doing quite well. But yeah, don't know. Tom, are you thinking soon then Williams is going to be in the starting 11, that Bournemouth and Fulham fixture? Well, maybe not Fulham, but certainly Bournemouth in the 6 is going to be useful to play. Or have you got a benching headache or not looked that far ahead?
I've not really looked that far ahead, but I don't know. I don't really think he's going to be in the first 11 unless I've got an injury or something. I don't know. I think, do I back Forest to get a clean sheet anywhere? Not really. He might get attacking return, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I see it the way where I thought, 4 mil playing defender, bench fodder. I'm quite happy with that. I think at the moment that he just sits there. I've got like the cheapest bench possible, pretty much.
Yeah.
But they're all playing, so they're all there when rotation comes up. So yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, if you had Perisic instead, and then I did something else, but I'm quite happy with my team really when I come to it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking more for me, like starting the season with 6.5 mil Rashford and 4 million Neco Williams. I could have flipped that around, had the 4.5 midfielder and had a really good defender in there. But I think Neco Williams will be playing for me in, was it game week 6? Was it the Bournemouth game? He'll be playing for me there because Fulham have got a terrible game, and so have Villa. If I've still got Bailey and Andreas.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know you had Neco. Nick. I knew Tom did. Okay. Yeah. And I suppose you're right, actually, Nick. Yeah, a lot of the top 10k are going to have. You're talking like they've probably got Maddison, Zaha's, who are not that big owned, but done really well.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, if you just look down the list of the top point scorers, everybody in the top 10k would probably have Rodrigo, won't they? They'll have started with him. You'd think.
True. Yeah. Bournemouth 0, Arsenal 3. Returns from the main template owned players from Arsenal. I suppose Saka has got to be frustrating for his owners, and obviously name of the episode, Ømygaard just absolutely smashing it. Bournemouth look the ones to target, don't they? So even more highlighting the craziness to get rid of any Liverpool assets this week. Well, sorry, Tom. Unless you're, you probably wouldn't sell too many.
Yeah, I mean, I think taking from this game is that if you captain Jesus and he was unlucky to only get his 4 points, wasn't he? I mean, he could have had a lot more. So I think if you, when I was watching that because I didn't captain him, I was quite relieved and he got 4, to be honest.
Yeah. Yes, one was marginally offside, like a couple of inches, and he had loads of chances, didn't he?
Yeah,
they've had such an incredible start. Their culture there. You think at this time last season, everyone was talking about. I think they lost their first 3 games last season. Everyone was saying, they should sack the manager. I think they're going to finish second. I think, aren't they? They're doing so well.
Oof. I mean, they've had very good fixtures though. Not sure about that high. I think it could fall apart a little bit. But when they actually get bad, they're still good for a while, aren't they?
I think though, Arteta's the man, and I think they absolutely adore him, and I think they'll run through walls for him. I think they're pretty good for second because Liverpool have had a terrible start. Chelsea have got some major issues. Had a bad start.
Yeah, it could be from that.
I mean, Spurs. I guess Spurs might run them close for it as well, but. I mean, Arsenal and Spurs. It's going to be fun watching those two go toe to toe this season. So
yeah, game week 9 they play. I mean, let's see 9. After like game week 10 after Arsenal played Spurs and Liverpool, but they've got a few tricky ones around them.
I mean, maybe James is just being negative as a Spurs fan, but he thinks that when Arsenal play Spurs in game week 9, he thinks Arsenal will be top of the league.
Wow. Okay. Yeah,
because he thinks all those games are winnable for Arsenal.
Interesting. Okay, and then it's one game per page. I think Leeds, Chelsea, Rodrigo. There's quite a lot of chaps in on Twitter about how nailed he is, but on that sort of form, you can see why people are just jumping on him. Was he 11 points per game?
I love this. It's so mad how Twitter it. I mean, there's no way Rodrigo's coming out of that team. He's the captain of the team. He's doing ridiculously well. There's no way he's going to bench him. Just absolute madness. Apparently Leeds fans saying it. It's just mad.
Do you see all this conversation?
And where's Bamford? He's not even fit, is he?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's got an injury, but yeah, they're just not trying to get him back too quickly, I think. And then there was the chat was whoever playing at right wing first choice. Someone's name I didn't even know. I'm not sure if he's even started yet. Like sort of.
It's Sinistera, isn't it?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Quite ironic. He's playing on the right, but he's he'll fit Rodrigo into that team. Like there's no way. Okay, Bamford comes back because Bamford I think he played the first game and he went off with an injury, and apparently it's not as bad as they thought, and they're bringing him back. But the other thing is, and somebody said this, I can't remember whether it was The Wire or Planet FPL, but they said Rodrigo's form means they can actually take the time to get Bamford back to proper fitness instead of trying to rush them back. But even when Bamford comes back, there's no way Rodrigo's coming out of that team.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. And everyone, the other thing I saw is everyone saying, "Oh, he's overachieving," he's XG and blah blah blah. I was like, so I'm not going to get him in. But I was like, well, you might carry on for another 3-4 weeks. I think if you think about going to be wild card and in a few weeks, then those fixtures is a bit, it's a bit of a no-brainer. I mean, I bought him in this week, so I think I'm already about to go for a second price rise. I'm already made money on him anyway if I sold him next week.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, that Brighton kick could be quite tough, but Everton can't defend. Forest, they look a bit leaky. They've got some nice fixtures coming up, and they just look completely on it, don't they? Under Marsh, Leicester, Leeds are absolutely, they've got that energy like Bielsa had.
That's, I mean, it might be confirmation bias, but that's one reason why I'm not breaking it to get him in this week, because I don't like that Brighton fixture. I think it's kind of the immovable object against the irresistible force at the moment. I never thought I'd say that about Leeds and Brighton, but I don't think there's much. I don't think there's much for Rodrigo in that game.
Yeah, but for next week, Nick, you were talking pretty highly of Rodrigo. Then are you thinking he's as high as Toney, if not higher, next week? Like high priority to get him?
Yeah, because mainly just because he's cheaper. So I think he will be one of those. No, not for Kula. I'd be trying to finding a cash cow, I think, to go Bailey to Rodrigo.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's just am I brave enough? I've already taken Robertson out. I think that is going to be okay. Although I don't like obviously the fact they got Bournemouth, but it's I'm at the moment I'm looking at Cancelo and Trent for that cash cow, and that's pretty scary. So when it's funny when you say it out loud, it's like I really need to get Rodrigo in, so I need to get rid of Cancelo or Trent. Doesn't sound right, but.
Yeah, there's gonna need to be some nerves of steel next week, I think, isn't there? So one of us, I think, is gonna have to do something pretty crazy to get the team we want.
But I mean, the other one is Haaland, right? I mean, it could go Haaland down to Toney, and then you've basically got money everywhere. So
yeah, but if you go on KDB to cover Haaland, you haven't got as much money as you think.
No, and that's the other thing about my not catching the price rises and price drops is that. It would have been very possible to go Salah down to KDB and then Bailey up to Rodrigo. Obviously, that is nowhere near possible now for me and my team. So,
right,
that's the challenge.
West Ham, Brighton. West Ham in trouble a little bit, aren't they? And yeah,
the only I know we're already going to go well over time. So actually, I should have bet on 2 hours and given you guys something to think about, but. The only one we didn't discuss with Leeds was Harrison as well, Shlee, your mate, because it sounds like you were about 6 months too early on him because he's absolutely flying, isn't he?
Yeah, well, some of the notes there interestingly are quite wide, and Aronson as well. I mean, they've both started well, haven't they? And that is one of those where I don't think next week I can get KDB, Rodrigo, and Toney. I have to sacrifice one of them and get a lesser version. I'm not even sure Harrison is cheap enough to swap instead of Rodrigo, but that's one thing I'm considering, that maybe I just gamble that I get a different Leeds asset and they bang instead of Rodrigo.
Yeah, and I think Aronson's only 5.5, isn't it?
True, yeah,
he is. Yeah, no, they both look good as well. Yeah, so I think it wouldn't be. But if you got to make money somewhere, that's a good place to do it, probably.
Yeah.
Is Harrison 5.5 as well, or is he 6?
6, I think.
6, yeah. We didn't even talk about Chelsea, but I'm glad that I didn't go double defence on Chelsea now.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at last week's episode. One of my fears was Cucurella, because obviously he was sort of flavoured of the month, unexpectedly starting and getting an assist. But yeah, what is it? Have they even kept a clean sheet yet? James has got 2 turns, I think, but no, they must have done in the first game, I think, and he scored.
They did in the first game, yeah.
Hmm.
I'm not getting rid of James. He can do it any time, and
agreed.
they've got the perfect bounce back fixture, haven't they, in Leicester? So
yeah,
I think for $6 million is still worth it.
Yeah.
Some people talking about. I think late Rose talking about Welbeck. Is he 5.5 or something really cheap as a bit of an enabler?
Yeah, he loves Welbeck.
Does he? Okay, but Brighton mids, there's options there, isn't there, as well? No one's got a Brighton player, I don't think, between us, have they?
No.
I'm starting to think about Trossard, because again, from listening to Planet FPL last season, it was really funny because Suj sold him at some point. I can't remember when, thinking like he hasn't done anything for weeks. And then as soon as he sold him, he got a return like every week for the next like 6 or 7
Game week
weeks.
sort of 30 onwards, he was electric, wasn't it, at the end?
Yeah. So I think if
he's really
Brighton always start the season well, and I think they'll trail off. But maybe Trossard is one to look at. Is he 6.5 Trossard?
I think he's 6.5. I think I was looking at this today. And their fixtures are decent till 9.
I think he's the one to get. I think Gross is a bit of a trap because again, like last season, I think he got 1 goal, 1 assist, and I think the season before that he got 1 goal, 1 assist, and he's already beaten that this season. I can't see that continuing forever, but you know, maybe they've just started in a really good way.
Again, another reason to roll.
Trossard's just frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, they're both playing wing back, aren't they? Isn't Gross right wing back, Trossard left wing back technically, but they're bombing forward a lot. So it's hard to know who to get out of that lot.
Yeah, I couldn't really work it out, to be honest, because they were swapping over so much, and then how it all fit together. I kept googling like Brighton formations, and they got about 15 different formations, and I couldn't decide which one they actually played, to be honest. But
right, let's move on. Newcastle 3 and City 3. I mean, City's XG was really high. I mean, Haaland could have got more in this one again. Can do nice finish.
Yeah.
So Maximan's looking crazy. I mean, Newcastle, another team I'm not too keen on captaining against, so maybe next week's going to be tough, not captain Salah. And definitely from, is it game week 8, Newcastle defenders, I've got to get one in. And someone, is it? Yeah, I think actually I was just thinking of going Trent to Trippier then.
Yeah.
If Newcastle are not doing great, because that's a bit of a fixture swing there.
Yeah, I think you could even go a bit earlier, couldn't you? You could even go 6, 7, 8. It's not that bad. Palace, West Ham. I mean, yes, I had something like, was it Trippier? Like of his last 4 direct free kicks, he scored 3 or something ridiculous.
Oh wow!
Some kind of stat I had, and I was just like, that's insane. Isn't it? Obviously, he takes it when it's in the sweet spot, but yeah, he does look good.
And so you guys aren't thinking, if you can't afford, say, KDB, Gundogan or Silva or something, I suppose it's just a bit of Mahrez with minutes risk type, because Gundo does, when he gets the minutes, he's pretty advanced like that. His goal, he was on the penalty spot pretty much.
Well, whenever he plays, he's taking up those great positions, isn't he? I mean, the season before last, he was absolutely brilliant, wasn't he?
Yeah, but only for sort of a 15 game spell. He sort of came in and just did it, and then sort of drifted away, isn't he? He's a bit of a streaky one.
Yeah,
for 7.5.
Yeah. And was that when they didn't have a central striker? Was that after Aguero left? So he was drifting into like the striker position, whereas now they got Haaland. Will he do that? But I mean, he's good for the money. If he gets on it, then definitely would consider him. Yeah.
I mean, three shots in the box. I mean, I think it's his price for me. I think he's too close to those 8 million mids, and you can say, Saka's not performed, Diaz, obviously doesn't look good from the last game, but they're not minutes risks, are they? Or certainly not at the moment. I think Kulusevski's not looking like a minutes risk with Richarlison being on the other side, but I just think he's too close to them. If he was 6.57, I'd be considering it, but I just don't think go there for that money.
Fair. I think Wilson's got a bit of a knock, but he's another option for the striker conundrum soon, isn't he? And we're talking about Newcastle being good from 8. Maybe Wilson will be on the agenda as well.
Yeah. Did you see that they're on about signing that Alexander Isak as well from wherever that he plays for? But he'd be quite tasty. I saw the interesting thing about Wilson today. What he said, oh yeah, I'm on the plane to Qatar for the England squad. He said, it's me and Harry Kane and whatever. And I was like, really?
I didn't see that.
Maybe if you bank. Oh yeah, it was just like he said, it's me, Harry Kane, Tammy Abraham, and another or something. I was like, okay, mate.
All right. Well, I mean, is that other guy they're buying, is he a striker though as well? Because maybe they've just thought Wilson's just not reliable enough from an injury perspective.
Yeah, I forget he played for. It's not Sociedad, was it?
I thought it was Sociedad, but if it's not, you would know, Tom.
But if they bring in another forward, that kind of kills it, doesn't it? Because it's too risky to know whether he's going to start or not. And all it takes is an injury for Wilson for a couple of weeks. The other guy comes in, gets a couple of goals, and suddenly he's not getting in the team anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas Toney and Mitrovic,
50.
they're nailed on.
Yeah, they're the main men. It's 59 million, so probably could be nailed. I'd say 59 million. But,
59 million. Pocket change.
He's probably on Champo, so
Yeah.
There you go. That's the scouting.
And then lastly, we've kind of talked about it, but United and Liverpool. Salah doing what he does. Interesting what they said about Diaz, wider and deeper than Salah. 2 shots in the box, missing a big chance.
Diaz Diaz is a fantasy asset. I mean, I didn't see much of the first half, but as a fantasy asset in the second half, I mean, the whole Liverpool team were very poor, but their midfield is just decimated at the moment, isn't it? And I just think that affects every position. But you think Diaz obviously got that amazing goal in Gameweek 2 against Palace, but you know, that was an absolute worldie. You want your fantasy assets like Sterling was a few years ago, where they're right on the goal line. You know, XG of 0.9. You don't want like that Diaz chance when he picked up the ball against Palace was probably like an XG of like 0.05 or something. It was just an absolutely ridiculous goal. So I wouldn't. Again, I feel quite glad that I swerved Diaz on that kind of 8 mil mid choice. I know Kulusevski didn't do anything, but I'm happy to have him going forward as opposed to Diaz.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about getting rid of him, Tom, or are you going to give him some time?
He's gone, isn't he?
Diaz, he's gone this week. Yeah.
Oh, he was one. He was one that went. Yeah, fair enough.
I did like. I think in the first half, Diaz looked he was slightly more involved than Salah. I thought Salah was really peripheral for like the first hour, and then obviously got into it a bit more at the end as kind of United sat back or whatever. But Diaz. I just thought that whole front three, they just looked off it, didn't they? And perhaps it is that central midfield area where they're kind of lacking. They just can't get going, and the press isn't on or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, that Harvey Elliott and Henderson, they just did not look to work to me. But
no,
the other thing that
how
makes
about
me worried
usually
about
you've still got him, haven't you?
Yeah, Diaz. Yeah, so definitely keeping this week, but getting maybe cash cow next week. And I was just about to say, the other worry with that Newcastle game next week with Liverpool, it's all very well saying it's at Anfield, but that'll be St. Maximin versus Trent, which could be pretty scary.
Did you see that clip of Trent just trudging along with that for the first goal? That's crazy, isn't it? That's the kind of thing that drives me nuts. If you're a fan, I mean, that is just.
I mean, I felt a little bit sorry for him because he was, it's almost on the penalty spot at that point, and he's drifted in from right back. Is that really his area to get to? And he didn't know who was going to do that great Cruyff turn. Sancho, wasn't it? Or whatever, dragged back to get it into that space. But yeah, it looked really bad where he's sort of just chugging along and then realises it's way too late and then starts sprinting.
Yeah, it's more just saunter, wasn't it? He just didn't like. Wasn't it the fact that he, if he's tricking someone else or whatever, fine. But he just kind of was like just stood still and sorting around. I was like, that'd be driving nuts if I watched that.
Yeah.
Yeah, St. Max, if he stays fit, I mean, that'll be a great game to tune in for, won't it? Newcastle Liverpool.
Yeah.
He's absolutely ridiculous on his day. That guy, he's like one of the best wingers in the world on his day. He can go up against anyone and destroy them.
Yeah. Right. Top 10K review courtesy of Ragaboli's site. On the left was the kind of point I was making earlier. What is this? Anyone with an EO of more than 15%, no one got a 10 plus point haul, which is pretty crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Not that many people in the top 10K have used their chips again last week. Sort of 1-2% of them seem to be doing it each week. But yeah, that just shows it wasn't a good week to wildcard, say, or bench boost got you like 8 points on everybody else. So people that are up there, probably going to be overtaken soon. And then the captaincy, I was pretty glad that I got that right with Salah and one bonus because it was low scoring in that respect as well. Anything else?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, obviously last season, a lot of the top 10K stuff was really interesting and really relevant. And this season, where I'm 3 millionth at the moment, it's just like the top 10K feels a very long way away. But it is, it's still super, super, super early days. And I was trying to remember, obviously I've got a terrible memory, but I was trying to remember like where I was this time last season. Obviously I had a pretty good game week 1 last season, but a wild card in game week 4, and then it, when it was kind of middling from there. But I'm just going to constantly be comparing my season to last season. But I think I'm just not going to make the mistake of panicking about my rank and doing something that I wouldn't otherwise have done.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I think the fact that Mark's pulled his wild card, I mean, he's been playing this game long enough and he's obviously brilliant at it and has an amazing pedigree, but I am quite surprised that he's pulled his wild card at this point.
Not slacking him off, are you, Nick?
I would never slack him off, but he's, I think it maybe makes more sense for him because he went with Son, didn't he? And it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah,
so
sure. No, I'm sure that he's out. Obviously, I'm joking. Yeah, you remember like a few episodes where we were joking about slagging off all the content creators. That's what I mean. Yeah, it will be interesting to see what he's doing on the wild card.
Yeah, I think he'll be trying to fix that Son position, won't he? And then getting on a few bandwagons like Rodrigo and Toney and those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's only 30 points between me and you, Nick. I mean, it's nothing really. 30 points. I mean, I think Ash, on last season, you overhauled about a similar kind of margin in the last 2 game weeks against me. So like, it's totally
true.
It's so bunched up at the moment, isn't it? It's nothing really.
Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? Because you know, after the first game week, I think you were, I don't know, you were maybe like 20 points ahead of me or something like that. But you're right. Those margins feel so much bigger at the start of the season because you're like, wow, well, it was 20 points in 1 week, so it was huge. And yet, as you say, with like a decent bench boost or just a good week, or you captain the wrong player. I mean, if any of us had captained Jesus in game week 2, it's just those kind of margins. But yeah, that's why I think it's super important not to panic and make crazy moves just because of rank or it's not going that well or whatever else. Because just stay the course, and those players you picked who you believe are good, they are good players for a reason. So.
Well, that's one thing I think that is interesting. Yeah, top 10k is far away from a lot of us, but we were talking last week, Tom, about Captain Salah seems like the right thing to do. One of the micro things about it was that you'd be cheering on your captain because he'd probably be over 100% EO, but actually he wasn't, and Jesus was 140. Okay, top 10k, maybe everyone's trying to do something a bit different off the back of Jesus' mega haul in game week 2, but Salah with us on 200% EO for us was quite a differential. We got that right. Okay, it was only a 4-point swing, and Jesus was unlucky not to get more, but that worked out for us pretty well.
I think in my mini leagues it's about 50-50. There was a much higher percentage of captainers than maybe in these guys. But around me there was quite a lot of Salah captains. But
okay,
yeah,
it's funny though, isn't it? Because in the context of that United Liverpool game, Salah was really, really lucky to get that return. Like it kind of came out of nowhere for him. But if before the game you'd said, he'll only get a goal, you'd be like, oh, okay, fine, I'll take it. But you were captaining thinking about what he did at Old Trafford last season, and same with Jesus. I mean, that could have really, really hurt us, couldn't it? That's why it's funny with these sites now that we know what EO is. I think somebody messaged in that Discord chat the other day where they were saying like, hey EO, where I think they had Haaland, Jesus, and maybe they just had those 2, and they were saying like, this game's rubbish where you want both your strikers to blank. Because I think even Haaland was like very, very close to 100 where they were, but it's just like, it's a bit miserable when you want your 2 star strikers to not score any points. So.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I watched Jesus, and when I was watching that game live, I was like, don't score.
I know, and that's what's mad because he's in your team. It is crazy, isn't it? But
I know, I know. Yeah.
Captaincy for next week looks like this. Rate My Team's got him way ahead. I've not actually seen a margin like this for a while, where it's 3 points pretty much above everyone else, and Captain Poll suggests he's way out in front as well. Are you both on him at the moment? Can't remember what your bus team say.
Yeah. This is not
not
the
actually,
week to go. Are you not, Tom? Who
Who
are you on?
Only because he played so. I've got Jesus at the moment. I don't know. I'm not saying it'll stick like that, but I don't know. I just thought they looked so bad. I know it's Bournemouth, but they looked so bad in that game against United. He was so lucky to get that return. I'm like, but it's Bournemouth, so maybe I think I need to have a think about.
No, I wouldn't think about it. Just keep it on Jesus. I think. Well, how many points ahead of me are you? What was it? 20 points? 30 points?
30. I can't start protecting my onion position already.
Exactly. Yeah. Play defensive. Week 4.
I don't know.
I just think
they just look miles off it, didn't they?
It's not the week for me to go against Salah. I reckon he'll be 160%, 170%.
Sure, but I mean, obviously that shouldn't come into it too much, but you just expect that bounce back.
No, but I think, I mean, again, if you genuinely think that Jesus is going to outscore him, I just think Bournemouth, if it was any other team in the league other than Bournemouth at home, I'd agree with you, Tom, because they were poor against United. But I just think I think they will bounce back. That, you know, they've got, it's not like they've got Brendan Rodgers as manager. Like Klopp is going to get a reaction out of that team.
Yeah, and even with an average midfield, they don't really need the midfield to get a Bournemouth defence. They're just sitting back a lot, aren't they, inviting it.
Yeah, exactly. I think they will. I think they'll smash them. But you're right. I mean, I guess it's one of those, isn't it, where if Bournemouth do really, really sit in 10 men behind the ball and it's 0-0 after 30 minutes, then maybe the cop starts getting nervous and starts getting annoyed. I've seen it with United a lot over the last 10 years or so. But I think an early goal for Liverpool in that game, it could be anything. It could be 6 or 7, couldn't it? Because they're going to really.
I don't think Bournemouth, they kind of sit back team, or they and they're going to go forward a bit. So maybe that opens it up a bit for Salah. I don't know. They just look. I thought the front three of Liverpool so ineffectual in the Man United game. Yeah, United pressed him, forced him into mistakes, but like they barely had any chances at all. Liverpool. Okay, it's not Man United, not Bournemouth, but I don't know. I think they looked completely off it.
What's the young lad called?
Carvalho.
Liverpool. Yeah, Carvalho. I mean, could he potentially play instead of Firmino in that front three?
I think he's more of a 10 than a false 9.
Yeah.
But people are worried about Firmino being off the boil and no attacking threat and what they do about it. And one option is they put Salah up there instead, but I'm not sure where Carvalho would go in.
But that is the only thing about Liverpool's squad at the moment. I know they've got a lot of injuries and Mane's gone, but there's not really anything that he can really do to really massively change it up. I mean, maybe he doesn't panic and he just plays Firmino and Firmino has a good game. He can't get any worse than he did in the United game. But yeah, I definitely won't be choosing this week to go against Salah. But yeah, Jesus could be a good shout.
I think he's definitely the option above Haaland. Just Haaland's minutes risk. I know he's a bit higher on, well, quite a bit higher on rate my team. But yeah, I think he'd be my vice. But I don't think I've got the balls to go against that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought the last two, obviously he did what he didn't get me to last week. He should have had more.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Arsenal and now Arsenal at home. I think they might smash Fulham.
Yeah.
But yeah, they might. I just think
I'll have a sleep on it.
At this stage of the season, though, I think captaincy is a really. I think it's sensible to play it safe on captaincy at the start of the season and just try and find differential picks elsewhere. I just think you can lose so much on captaincy if you go against it in the wrong week.
I'm not sure it is as one-sided as it suggests. I was really surprised it was 60% and then 12 and 3 points out on RMT. I don't think I've ever seen it that. So I was a bit surprised at that. I think this is not taking Liverpool's problems into account.
No,
I don't think that's enough still for me.
Historical, yeah. But I don't know. I don't think Jesus is differential though, is he? I mean, he's still be heavily backed, I think.
Yeah,
there,
true.
So,
well, yeah, 90. He's 98% owned in the top 10k, so he probably will be just over 100 just by a few people doing that. But like Nick says, Salah could be. Well, maybe they'll both be about 130 or something.
I don't
think there'll be that much between them.
He's going to be really highly owned, Salah. I reckon it might be 180 territory. I mean, the thing with United was they were bottom of the league last week, but if they beat Liverpool, they went above them. Liverpool have got 2 points after 3 games, and I think they're like 17th or something. They're going to destroy Bournemouth. Destroy them.
We'll see. I think that's playing into Tom's thoughts. Keep with Jesus, Tom, if you want that. I mean, that is maverick stuff, and that could work out beautifully.
I think you should bring Luis Diaz back in and captain him.
Yeah, maybe I've just turned off. I shouldn't have watched that game on Monday night, and I've just turned off all Liverpool assets, basically.
God, if you didn't.
Was it partly on the back of that, actually? So you were looking at Diaz. Was it Monday night you did it, Tom? And you thought, this is, not the Liverpool of old. See you later. Okay.
No, but it was before you did it before the United Liverpool game though. I think you did it Sunday night, didn't you?
Oh, I did because you said, you told me I did it. Oh, that's brave before tomorrow. Yeah, no, I did it Sunday night.
That's brave because
both rising, so I had to do it.
Yeah, I think the idea of selling a player and then he gets like 2 or 3 goals in the next game, that would be.
And you've got Bournemouth at home, but then in a way, it's kind of fun that you're like, well, he's gone. This is the last hurrah. What can you do, mate? And he did nothing.
Yeah, it's good watching him.
At least you were getting his. At least you would have got his points. Yeah, very true. Actually, unlike me with Rashford, where I sold him and then he scored. The beauty of FPL, isn't it? Rashford's running clean through from the halfway line. In the back of my mind, I kind of don't want him to score. I was actually pleased that he scored. So that's good. I guess it was because it was Liverpool and we're bottom of the league. Yeah, I've already lost my bet, so we're definitely going for 2 hours now. Sleazy running away. I really like the look of this team. The only player I really don't like, obviously, in here is Bailey. But I'm not. I just think if each week I'm choosing between Bailey, Andreas, and Neco Williams, it's not that bad. You know, I was thinking about wildcarding at some point earlier this week because I was like, I could jump on all those bandwagons. But I've kind of made my bed now with these price rises and falls. I think my team value is the lowest it's ever been at this point in the season. But I'm just not going to panic, and I think this team looks good, and I'm looking forward to having 2 free transfers next week to plan that out.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? On one hand, you're like, oh my god, I got to choose between Bailey, Andreas, and Williams. One uninspiring sort of set in terms of their value, but then Bailey's returned, Andreas has returned. You've got 3 to choose from.
Yeah,
you know, it's not like choosing a tricky one with 2. So I get it. But it's only your 11th man, isn't it? The rest is strong. And
that's the thing. That's the thing. And that is, you know, if I hadn't missed all those price rises, like Bailey, I think I have seen teams where like Bailey is Rodrigo or something, and you know that is the power of catching those price rises. But I'd probably be, you know, maybe 8 to 12 points in terms of hits, you know, less well off. But maybe I'd have, you know, probably have more points if I'd chase those players. But you never know, do you? You never know where they're going to continue it on. But I guess my biggest decision this week is Bailey or Andreas, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, so and I'd forgotten you've got that sort of dilemma. So yeah, me asking Tom earlier was kind of for my bench order, but actually for you, it's who you stick in the 11. I think our MT did have Bailey ahead, so I think on just that you'd do that. But Tom saying that he's not going to start is interesting.
I know it's annoying because it's like all FPL choices where there's a trade-off in both directions. I think because it is my 11th man and the rest is strong, I think I am just going to err on the side of going Bailey for the higher potential upside, I think.
Because he started as you last night, did he, Tom? In the cup, Bailey?
Sorry, I closed the page. I think he came on, actually. Coutinho started.
If he didn't start...
Came on and scored. He's definitely starting. He came on and scored. Gerrard needs all the goodwill and the good faith and the good luck that he can get at the moment. So it's Bailey's on ice. Bailey's not on ice.
I'll just check it for you. He came on after 71 minutes for Ollie Watkins.
Scored
and then he scored in 87.
Yeah, he's definitely playing. Come on, Tom.
It was Bolton.
If Kulu didn't have such a lush fixture, Nick, do you think you'd be tempted by Kulu and Bailey to something like Rodrigo, and probably couldn't afford Zaha, could you? But do something with those 2.
Yeah, I mean, if Kulu had a really, really horrible fixture, but if he had a horrible fixture this week, I wouldn't have brought him in. So this is that thing, you know. I brought him in last week. I brought him in last week for a reason, because I, even after a lot of deliberation, thought he was the best option. At, you know, he was 8.1 when I got him. I don't think he was he 8.2? Might have been 8.2. I think I went for the most expensive 8 million option and the most expensive 5 million option was Zinchenko at 5.2. I'm not getting rid of him. I think he's a really, really good player, Kulusevski. The reason why I brought him in ahead of all those other players is because from January to the end of the season, I think he got 97 points.
Yeah.
And when I worked out his points per game, I can't remember what it was, but it was streets ahead. I think it was 5.6 points per game or something like that. He's a brilliant fantasy asset, and that Spurs team's only been getting better. And I think what's been really interesting is, I think the reason why Son is underperforming is because they've brought in Richarlison, and Son's their thinking, well, I've been the best player in this team for 7 years, me and Kane, and you've now brought in this player who's competing with me for a spot. And Kulusevski hasn't been getting taken off at all. He's been taking Son off on 70 minutes every game. So I think Kulusevski's super, super important for that Spurs team. So I'm happy to have him. But no, I'm not thinking about, even next week, actually, with 2 transfers, I'm going to probably find the cash elsewhere, I think, to get Bailey up to Rodrigo.
Who have they got next week? West Ham. Okay. But then Fulham, it's decent. I don't know. I'm really off Spurs for some reason, apart from Perisic. But that's probably dangerous because Kane has shown just to tick along. He's getting 80 to 90 minutes, and with Haaland going, maybe I think I'm just seeing Haaland as a cash cow and thinking I could go down to a 7 or 8 million. But as the wire was saying, maybe it's just go to Kane and keep it simple as the move.
Yeah, I think I'll have Rodrigo before then. But you look at Spurs have City in 7. Leeds have Forest at home.
True.
I don't like Spurs. I guess they've got Leicester to that. It's pretty good. But then they've got Arsenal and Brighton. So I could get rid of Kulu in 7. I give him the next 3 fixtures and see how he does. And then there are other teams whose fixtures are changing around 7 and 8. Newcastle we've already talked about. Maybe I could have St. Max in at that point. He's a midfielder, St. Max, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah, is he 6?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, 6.5, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
No, fair enough. Anything else on this, Nick? Should we move on?
No, very boring. Rolling a transfer, I like the look of it. Although, as per Tom, when you look at your team and think that looks great, it usually doesn't mean big points.
Yeah, but everyone at home apart from Kulu and, like you say, on paper, good fixture matchups. I wouldn't change that.
Yeah, and obviously I'm kind of agreeing with Tom a bit. I've got Jesus Vice as well, so.
Yeah. Right, this is me. As it says on the right, potential transfers on 90% to roll. The only things that I could probably improve the team would have to be obviously for, I don't want to take a hit, 1 free transfer and have to be less money. Me swapping him around to Davinson Sanchez maybe, or Dunk, or Haaland to Kane, but just, me, that home fixture's decent for Everton. That's part of the reason why I bought him in. Fear is captain choice given. I think, those 3 options, I did sort of write that before. I think looking at what RMT said and how far ahead Salah is, so my sad mind, I think that is, EO does come into it a little bit. I agree with you, Nick. I'd probably go quite safe there. But I'm just worried about everyone having price rises this week, and I could easily see them scoring again. And I don't have any of the Perisic, Rodrigo, Leeds boys, Brighton midfielders, or Toney, who I think could all go quite well.
You can't have everyone, Schley.
Indeed, yeah. So that's me. I've got Bailey ahead of Andreas. That's a bit of a benching headache, but that's pretty much the only decision I need to make, I think. Right then. Take it away, Tom. What have you been up to? This team is lush, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did the 2 transfers. Did them Sunday night before the Liverpool game, as you said. So Diaz and Archer out. Upgraded to Toney and got Rodrigo in. So jumped on some bandwagons, as you said. I don't know. I like it. Yeah, I think the only thing for me is no Spurs. I keep saying it every week. I've got no Spurs, and I don't do anything about it because. Perisic. I just don't know. It's just the risk of him not playing. I think everyone else in my squad is going to play, pretty much nailed on. Going to play. So bringing Perisic in and then dropping one of those defenders, I don't know. Yeah, 5 at the back. I think I talked about it last week as well. I just don't like 5 at the back. So it's just my personal, I don't know, something in my brain says don't do 5 at the back, which I don't know. But I like the fact that my bench is super cheap. It's like they're all playing, but they're all cheap. And I've just loaded it into the team. So I'm pretty happy.
Almost 2 free
there's
transfers,
some crazy
wasn't
thoughts about Kane and 2 frees, So Kane for Haaland, Salah, KDB is stuff I've been thinking of, but I'm not going to do any hits or anything. And I think that's it really. I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? It's funny. It's funny though, isn't it? Because I look at our teams, Tom, and it's basically yes, Edison against Saar, and I'd rather have Edison, although Saar's my hero. But it's basically Rodrigo and Toney against Kulusevski and Bailey. So I don't. It's not that far out, really. Like it, I'd much rather have your team at the moment, and obviously your team value will be much higher than mine as well. And I think you've played the start of the season really, really well, and even just taking 2 frees this week, as long as you don't get any worse injury news, then it's great. But it is funny because I feel like we're in a totally different place, and yet the differences in our team are Edison, Rodrigo, and Toney against Saar, Bailey, and Kulusevski. Is if Kulu has a good week, he could match those guys. So it's interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, Jesus, this captain brave.
I didn't think it was until I came on here, but yeah, I think Spurs. I mean, that is the thing that worries me the most. Every time I watch them, I don't like watching them because I haven't got anyone. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, if someone gets injured, obviously, and I've done the transfers early, I've taken on the chin, but I'll probably just play I'll probably play Andreas. Maybe I'll swap Andreas and just Silva over on the bench. I don't know. I think about that, but.
Yeah, your bench is great.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, exactly. I think the bench is like pretty much spot on, and yeah, I think part of the reason I think of doing Archer to Toney just gives me that flexibility for when we're going to like the more rotation coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'm thinking that might be good to have that.
Yeah,
extra playing player, but I'm hoping we don't get there, but just in case we do. So
yeah, and you're very well set up to do Toney to Mitrovic as well, and yeah, it looks good.
Yeah,
we haven't talked about this.
Yeah.
I know we're massively over time. When do you guys think you might wildcard, or are you not even really thinking about it at the moment?
I don't think it'll be for the next 2 or 3 weeks unless something goes really bad. I just think until Champions League settles down and we see kind of how that affects things, Haaland being one, but I do think there is going to be a jumping off of the big six, because they're going to be in Champions League and rotating a bit, and some of these promoted teams do have really good fixtures, like Newcastle defence I definitely want to get on.
Yeah.
Mitrovic is going to be tricky to get to without a wild card. There's a few things around like 8 to 10 that I'm thinking, but I'm also thinking, if I do quite a few transfers next week, maybe I won't be too far away and I will keep it for a bit. I'm really not too worried about. I hear a lot of people still saying, "Oh, well, you get the free transfers in 17, so you really don't want a wild card too close to that." But maybe something will happen around then that you can sort of pivot around 2 wildcards quite close together. That could be quite powerful. So, but yeah, I think my rank would have to increase a bit after last week, quite a bit to save it that long. I probably will need it 8 to 10.
Yeah. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, I think probably about the same. I think if depends how it goes next couple of weeks. If I can get back to 2 transfers and then make a few moves, kind of in 5, 6, 7. Yeah, maybe around 8, 9, somewhere around there. But I mean, I guess if I'm doing well, I'll obviously keep it. But I think there's nothing too much I would change in the team at the moment. But then I said that last week, and I've changed 3 players. So, yeah, I think probably looking at 8-ish for now.
What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I'm a bit annoyed. Again, a bit annoyed with myself because I think this was the season to play the way that I normally play, and sometimes it does well, sometimes it doesn't. But I think I could well have wildcarded, game week 2 to jump on every bandwagon going, or game week 2, game week 3, jump on all the bandwagons and get all the price rises, because I think there's a fixture swing around 8, but are we really going to take out all of our Liverpool players, all of our Chelsea players, all of our I think City's fixtures are okay around there, but they have got United, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Brighton in the space of 5 game weeks. But are we really taking all these players out to get in Newcastle players and Brentford players and Fulham players? Like, we're just not going to do it. And you can get in, for Fulham, you can get in Mitrovic. For Newcastle, you'll get in Trippier, and everyone else will as well. But we're not. There aren't enough spaces in our team to kind of get triple ups from Newcastle and triple ups from Fulham, etc. Like, it's just not going to happen. So I'm a bit annoyed that I didn't. I think this was a good opportunity this season to use the wild card in those first few weeks to make sure you jump on the price rises and the bandwagons. And I think you're right, actually. I think if you don't use it then, just penciling it in at 8 or 9, because it's kind of the halfway point before we get the unlimited transfers. I think it might be more powerful now to save it and do it like either 5, even with 4 game weeks to go until the World Cup. I think it might be a good time to use it because there'll be certain players who might be not on the beach quite, but they might be, if they know they're in the squad, they might be protecting themselves and making sure they don't get an injury. Wouldn't be surprised if Kane doesn't perform particularly well in the kind of 3 or 4 game weeks before the World Cup starts.
Yeah, true. Liverpool City in 11 is another one. Probably not a good idea to wildcard for one fixture, but that's a tough one where you could maybe move people in and out to avoid that because most people are probably going to have like 5-6 players in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the international break in 8 is also. Yeah.
Look at that City run. Liverpool away, Arsenal away, then Brighton at home. That's not a good run, even for City.
True.
But you're right though. You're going to take City. You can take City players out for Newcastle or someone. You're probably not, are you? And that's the problem when we've loaded our teams with top 6 players. Yeah, it's going to be hard to get off of any of them really. To get into.
But another way of looking at that, Nick, is you're talking about wildcard being aggressive and being early. But how many players different right now would you have on wildcard different to that? Your back 4 would probably be quite similar.
I know it's funny, isn't it?
I
think this is.
Jesus.
No, you're right. I think this is the reason why I didn't do it, because it's all very well saying, right, well, I'd have Rodrigo and I'd have, maybe I'd have Perisic and I'd have Zaha or whatever, but you've got to take players out to get those players in, and you're not taking out Martinelli, you're not taking out Salah.
Yeah, you'd be wildcarding for getting those 3 or 4 peripheral players, which have made the difference to some people, but
yeah,
that is, okay, in hindsight, it was a good reason for a wildcard. You'd be 25 points up at least, say, but on the other hand, it's the 3 or 4 players, it's not really worth it.
I mean, I think if I'd wildcarded, I'd have 101.8 team value, but maybe the same amount of points. And you're right. After Rodrigo performed well in game week 1 and his price started to rise, you don't look at it and think necessarily, oh, he's going to keep doing it. At that point, I would have been worried about him coming out of the team. I'm not worried now, but yeah, it's hindsight, isn't it? So.
But I'm not saying it's going to be like a Leicester season, but it could be a couple of more game weeks, and we are thinking, hello, Liverpool, City maybe are not what we thought. Chelsea are failing. Maybe, Arsenal, the new top 6 form boys, and then actually Leicester and Newcastle have turned it around, and they are, maybe top 6 teams, and maybe Son or Kane are on it, and it's quite hard to restructure and. People are
United,
triple
United under Ten Hag, because I think Leicester. I think unless they get rid of Brendan Rodgers, I mean, even then they haven't bought anyone. United under Ten Hag and the messages coming out of their camp and how he's doing and his bravery and everything else, and him changing the culture. United could break every template because you might suddenly need 2 or 3 United players in the team.
Yeah, I think it's still quite volatile, so I'm not going to play it just for 3 or 4 or 5 players, and be interested obviously to see what Mr. Mark Sutherland has done, but I think it's quite hard to know quite yet. I think there's a couple of teams that could go one way or the other.
No, that's a good point. It's a good point. Thank you for talking me off the ledge, Lee, on that.
Yeah, it was a bit like, I don't know, you and Tom sounded partly like you were thinking of wildcarding soonish.
I don't know. I went through a bit of a phase after that Liverpool Man United game. Like, I need to change the team. And I looked at the team and I was like, actually, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
mate, that team is where I would want to be right now. So, but
given that I'm
only 3 players,
you had to do it Sunday, didn't you, Tom? You woke up and the price rises had changed, and you were 0.1 short. I've not done it.
Yeah, exactly. Because Rodrigo and Toney went up, and I got 0.1 in the bank.
Yeah, so, but it's one of those where they were predicted to go up, but they actually did. So you were right to do it then if that's what.
Yeah, but I think they were quite heavily predicted to go up. Like I know you can't trust it 100%, but they're both like very likely to go up. So
okay.
I just did it. Yeah.
What's does anybody know what Martinelli's ownership is? It feels like he's owned by everybody in the game because no one's talking about him at all. And when he returns, it's like, great.
Yeah.
Only
76.
Only 41.5.
Okay.
Yeah, 41.5 overall. It's not that much.
Well, I mean, anything above 40 for the the wider game, that's pretty high, isn't it?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, he's had an amazing start.
Right, we're getting there. We've probably covered most of these. 12 questions to run through here. Midweek Cup games. Well, that's more a reminder that they exist. There's some going on tonight, isn't it? I don't know if any of you know the scores, but watch out for those. Anyone thinking of transfers? Could be some injuries or rotation news. And they got that City friendly as well. Number 2 there. They're playing Barcelona. Is it tomorrow?
No, it's tonight, I think.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's tonight. I saw a team sheet. It looked like they were going to play like two different teams for 45 minutes, I think.
Okay, right. Oh, right. But like the likes of Haaland and stuff will get 45 minutes, you think?
I can't remember whether Haaland was on the bench. I remember seeing the bench look ridiculously strong. The first team didn't look strong at all, but I think Foden was in it, and who else was in it? Might have been Cancelo, but like they've made a lot of changes, but the bench is ridiculously strong. So I think they'll be just bringing on a different team in the second half. I mean, it'll be over now, so we could go and look at it now. But
right.
Let's see if I
was just looking. Rodrigo played 15 minutes. He came on for 15 minutes for Leeds.
Okay. No injury, I hope, Tom.
Doesn't look like that. Tom looking for.
Just quickly, then number 3. If you had Saka, would you sell him or would you stick?
If I didn't have Martinelli, I'd definitely go.
This week with Fulham at home, though, it's so hard to know when to jump off, isn't it?
I think if you got as long as you've got triple Arsenal, I think I wouldn't go down to double Arsenal. I wouldn't go Saka to Zaha or something, but I'd go Saka to Martinelli. Get Martinelli.
Yeah, I think if that's for free, that's fine. But I think for -4, I probably wouldn't. But then you'd have to look ahead. Well, when are you going to do that? Are you actually going to have space to do it for free? So maybe actually it's better to take it now than later. It's a tricky one. But yeah, I feel sorry for Saka owners. Perisic in, how high have we got that? You two sound like you're not sure even next week, whereas I'm likely, I'd say. But obviously see what happens this weekend.
Yeah.
We've sort of covered that.
I don't. If he had Forest midweek next week and we had information from this weekend, then probably quite likely. Again, West Ham are now being backed into a corner because they've lost 3 games.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to start performing at some point, and I'm sure they will. So I can see them scoring against Spurs. I'm not going to break my team to get him in before then, but if he plays and gets an assist and then gets taken off on 60 minutes. Or 65 minutes, I think it's going to be pretty tempting to get him in, but that will then probably make me do a silly move of a Cancelo or a Trent to him to get the funds in midfield to upgrade Bailey. So that's probably what I would do. The 2-3 next week if Perisic looks good.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I think I probably only be for Trent, and then I'm like, I'm not sure I'm quite ready to get rid of Trent just yet. So I think I'm unlikely to get Perisic, and I'll just run the risk of not having him.
Okay.
Yeah, probably very sensible.
I think we've kind of covered 75 and 6 together. Haaland, KDB, sounds like we're thinking about it. It's an option if we think Haaland's minutes risk for next week, and we're not massively keen on Gundo and the like, but could be an option if you need to save some money.
Yeah, that would have to be Haaland's KDB would have to be 3 transfers for me, I think. Because I don't see me downgrading a Cancelo or a Trent just for like the 0.6 or 0.7 or whatever that it takes to do it. But I don't know. It's 3 transfers anyway, isn't it? Because you have to do the KDB and you have to do the midfield spot and the striker spot, and then I'd have to make funds for it as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Too much, I think.
I think we've covered.
I can honestly see Haaland coming off the bench anyway if he doesn't start and scoring
against Forest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but then I guess if they're winning that game comfortably, maybe he just gives him a complete rest.
Yeah. Hopefully there's something in the press conferences that he expands a little bit more on. Yeah, he's not going to play every week, but something about the Champions League maybe, or something about Alvarez playing the weekend or something you can figure out from that. But unlikely, I know.
But we will also know more because again, if he gets taken off on 65 minutes this weekend, then he's much more likely to play, isn't he?
True. Yeah.
Whereas if he plays more like 70, 80, you think actually he's not starting that game.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. I think we've
covered Julian Alvarez scored. Julian Alvarez scored against Barca. It was 3-3.
Oh wow. Okay.
But yeah, they played 2 completely different teams.
How many minutes did Haaland get?
Everybody played. I can't easily see from where I'm looking at it the timeline of when Haaland came on. So look, hang on. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, Haaland came on for Alvarez in the 72nd minute.
Okay.
So Alvarez got most of the game.
Okay.
Yeah, Gundogan on for Foden on 65, De Bruyne on for Bernardo Silva on 64. So yeah, they actually didn't give them half each. They played a much weaker team for like 65 minutes and then started making those changes.
Good.
Yeah.
I think we've covered the assets from Leeds, United, Liverpool. I think we discussed that. It's probably the last two that maybe a bit more sort of big look at the game. The changes that are happening, Nick, which you put in here. Do you think we've covered those, or do you want to discuss those more?
I think we've covered them really. I think on the bandwagons we've spoken about all of those guys. I actually don't think any of them are traps. I think the only one who might potentially be is, as you said, Tom, might be Perisic, just because of minutes. But I think he's just so good that when he plays, and there is going to be the odd game where he just goes nuts, and it might not even be a Forest game. It might be, it might be a more difficult opposition where he actually still just does it because he's that good. But I think Spurs are going to finish third or fourth this season, so they're going to win a lot of games, and I think he's going to play. But I think the rest, they're all solid picks. I think there's no way Rodrigo comes out of that team, and Toney and Zaha are pretty much first on their team sheet. So, and they've got good managers, and yeah, I think. Have we had any traps yet this season? I think the only one I think is a trap is Gross. Oh,
Gross.
Yes.
Neto.
Trap. Yeah, Rashford.
Rashford. Over 3 weeks, can anyone be a trap? Yeah, Dino, yeah. I think that's it though. When you've got the security of the wild card in the back pocket, I think it's good. It's right to go with a couple of these players for a little bit, and then we can all jump off them again. I don't see them. I'm not going to have them in my team in probably 10 weeks' time, but maybe I'll have them for 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, but Toney in particular. I mean, last season I don't think I might have owned him for a bit, but I didn't ever fear not having him. And obviously he started to score a few at the end of the season, but he just looks like he's happy at this level now, and I think he's pretty comfortable. And has he scored in every game? Or did he get 2 assists in one game and a goal in each of the others? He looks pretty. Yeah, you're right. He looks pretty good. He looks pretty good.
2 assists against United, and goal in each of the others.
Yeah. So, and with their fixtures being what they are, I am jealous of you, Tom, having him. I just don't think it's very easy for me to get to him at all. I think that is, if I wanted Toney, I'd pretty much have to wildcard, I think. And that's a big, you don't want a wildcard just for Toney.
Yeah.
No.
All right, we are over 2 hours for the first time, but I think we're nearly there.
Schlee's sweating a little bit.
I've had a 8:30 cup of tea, so I'm pretty tired, but not too bad. I think I've had about 3 yawns. That's all right.
There you go. There was a lot to cover. And
No, exactly. No, it's been good with 3, and I knew it'd be long with a lot to discuss, but it's also a bit of a pivotal week, isn't it? Well, getting ready for certainly next week what might happen and talking through all the options. So definitely good to explore them all.
Yeah, and it's a funny game, isn't it? Because you spend so much time listening to stuff about it, thinking about it, and yet actually most weeks you should probably just roll a transfer. So you do all this stuff, and then actually you should just leave it alone. So,
even when they were done the opposites with that, we're rolling probably, but I think Tom's also right to have used his 2 frees. I mean, I'm impressed almost that you saw that combo, Tom, where it's like, as soon as you put it in and you saw it as 0.1, I'm sure you had a little heart flutter and like, oh, that's the sign, it's got to be done. But I think it was almost impressive to see that combination go in and think, well, I can have just about afford that.
Yeah, I think I'd watched all the Saturday and Sunday games, and I was just like, well, I want them 2 players.
Yeah, fair.
And yes, it had to be Diaz. If he just scored, and whatever he did against Bournemouth, I'll have to take that. But it was the only way I could make it work. So
yeah, I think
we'll see if it's
fairly low risk.
How have you got the time to be watching all of the Saturday and Sunday games, Tom?
I didn't watch them all live, but I watched bits of highlights and stuff like that. I've got a brilliant app on my phone that is totally illegal that I watch them
on. Well, I wish I could do that, but yeah.
I think during the Man City game, my daughter was sick all over me, so I did have to take a break on that one. But, yeah, other than that, it was smooth sailing.
Lovely.
Yeah, she just got too excited that period at the start of the second half.
Yeah, exactly. But just try and catch match of the day, get the highlights on. So I didn't watch them all live, but tried to watch the watch the Arsenal game, watch the Man City game, watch the ones where I've got a representation, I guess. Watch the Liverpool game.
Representation. Nice. Yeah.
So I'm not sure what we're doing next week yet, are we? But obviously midweek we'll try and do maybe at least one sort of mini episode to chuck in the middle there somewhere, but we'll see what happens. Anything else from you guys before we wrap it up?
No, just to say to Tom, thank you so much for covering me while I was out, and you've done such a great job of it that I think I have to let you sub in for me occasionally. And Kate asked me tonight, she was like, "How long are you going to be doing this podcast for?" I was like, "Forever." So I think if I get the odd week off, or if Schlee wants the odd week off, we could always get Tom back in, because he's very good for it, and he actually watches some football, Schlee, which is helpful as well.
Yeah, no, yeah. Other Tom was so impressed with that. I was wondering what you meant by Kate's question. Does she mean like, does she want a 2-hour figure tonight, or does she want a year when you might quit this?
Yeah, exactly. She wants to know that it's not going to be every Wednesday for the rest of my life, and I'm like, no, okay. Fine.
Until the Premier League breaks apart and goes to Super
Exactly.
League.
Yeah, when there's a Super League, that should be my answer, shouldn't it? When the Super League forms, I'll stop.
Yeah. No, but thanks very much. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on. And I'm going to be away for a week, so I'll have to on holiday. So I'll try and make sure I don't mess up my team. But it's been good to be on while I'm doing well as well. Makes a change. So
have a great holiday, and we'll catch up with you when you're back.
Yeah, I forgot you're away next week, Tom. Have a good one. Right then, thank you very much for watching and listening, everyone. If you enjoyed the content, please like, share, and comment and subscribe, and we'll be back next week. See you soon. See you guys.
Thanks all.
Cheers, bye.